see you guys. So we're chatting today about Adelaide. You guys are coming to Adelaide.
Oh, we are coming to Adelaide, Rach. We're very excited. I've never been to Adelaide.
Oh, well, I can't say you're missing a great deal, but that's only because I've grown up in Adelaide. Well, you'll see, some of the symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism in this city, particularly the whole thing's sort of set up as an Illuminati triangle with the Victoria Square as the reptilian eye in the center, which they don't hide because it's based around the rainbow serpent. It's
Wow.
That's,
crazy.
see, that's the sort of stuff that now our community uses as tourism. You see, we're like, ooh, a reptilian circle. Whoa, what are you talking about? Let's go. It's
Oh,
like,
even to the point that it has the slit and the Queen Victoria statue right where the slit in the eye is. It's uncanny.
see,
Wow.
I reckon we need a new tourism map,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
for all the
yeah,
cool
yeah,
shit that you can
Ah,
go and see with this consciousness.
yeah,
Way more
absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so you'll see a lot of symbolism and the energy is interesting. So I mean, the outskirts of Adelaide are beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and the country area is just the most beautiful frequency. But when you're sort of wandering around Adelaide, you'll see the symbolism and you'll feel the energy is a little bit different. It's a little bit different. I think it must have been absolutely spectacular when they first came,
hmm hmm
and then they had to invert. But we're turning it back. So a lot of people are wandering around using Kelly Heinsohn and Dr. Joe Whitaker's coded water and placing that on the piezoelectric structures that are in the controlled ley lines, which is wonderful. So we're turning it back. We're definitely turning it back to the frequency that it's supposed to be. And there's some crazy
yes.
stuff going on. I mean, there's always some sort of corruption just about every week in the local paper. Well, every 2 or 3 days you'll see there's some perp being traipsed through the courts. So a lot of it is CSA. And just the fact that that's all coming out and that's being exposed at the moment is also wonderful. But don't be put off because Adelaide is, there's a lot of beautiful things about Adelaide. The people are the most beautiful thing about Adelaide, in my opinion, because it's sort
Mm.
of kind of like a small country town. It's not like Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah,
It's very much a very small community. People are friendlier.
Nice. It used
I'm
to be called
excited.
the City of Churches, didn't it? Or still probably is. So there's
There's
lots
a
of
lot of churches.
cathedrals, yeah,
Yeah,
churches.
yeah. Heaps of beautiful old buildings. I mean, the St.
Mm.
Peter's Cathedral, which is like the center point of the most controlled ley lines, is just spectacular. It's hard to believe that it would have been built when it was supposedly built.
I mean, the more churches, the higher the frequency, really, wasn't it? Before
Yeah,
churches were churches. Yeah, they're all
yeah,
built there for a reason. So if
yeah,
it's like famous for that, there's
yeah,
some good shit
exactly.
going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got an event coming up, and I'm excited because I'm going to speak at that. So
You're going to
I'm
be there,
excited.
I'm
yes.
looking forward to it. So
With
what are you going to be chatting about?
The invasion.
Oh wow.
yeah,
Yeah,
we've got the
yeah.
whole story going on.
We've sort of worked it out. I think at this point, a lot of people understand we have been invaded by something, some
Yeah.
other entity or consciousness. And so we just trace it back and sort of put a story together of how that has got into our realm and how it's still going, right? And there's a big push now to get us into the simulation, right? The 2D world, the AI, the internet, the all this kind of stuff. So we see, the simulation is what they're trying to get us into. It's not what we're in,
Yeah.
but that's what it's trying to do. So yeah, we come from that perspective and where did it come from? Who are they? What's going on here? And put it together a big story. Yeah.
Well, that is cool because I've been talking about that a little bit more bravely.
Yeah.
I won't say anything in this podcast, but I'll say something on stage that I spoke about in America in September because I've had experiences here that my father introduced me to, which would definitely fit in with what you're talking about.
Fantastic. It's
Yeah.
going
I
to be
mean, you were
rad.
kind of born into all this stuff, weren't you? All around you, all the darker side of what's going on.
And it's not just the otherworldly elements, there are physical beings. Yeah. So what you're talking about is exactly right. And I believe Adelaide is a stronghold for it. And I think that's part of the reason why it's been kept so small. The population
Hmm.
is very small. It's roughly about a million and a half people.
Yeah, right. I mean, Australia in general seems to be a bit of a coveted land by these beings, doesn't
Yeah, it
it?
does, eh?
I mean, they're
Yeah.
definitely trying to, like cost us out of, the cost of living is so high, right? It's like, how can you even live here anymore? People are leaving. It's like they want it for themselves, right? And they're trying to get rid of us.
Yes, yes, interesting.
It's
Goes back
such
to
a
those Georgia Guidestones. Bring it down to a manageable number.
500 million.
Yeah,
Australia's such a mysterious country, isn't it? Like it looks like it's directly snapped off from the Arctic ice wall. You know, when you look at the Great Bight and like that whole edge, it just looks like it, and it's just like flat and there's nothing for just millions and trillions of miles. It looks like it's broken off. You've got such a like ancient, there's such an ancient unknown history here.
yeah,
I mean, it's only known in such small details and pretty inaccessible to the average human. And like, wow, it's yeah, we've seen, I guess, in our sense of history, the least bloodshed here in Australia, which
yeah,
is a really interesting thing, right? So yeah, I mean, Australia is it's fascinating. I mean, an excellent country to be in for these times.
yeah.
Like it just is. It feels it's got that solid, unwobbliness. It really does. In the sense that it's this continent that is in some essence protected from both sides, you know?
And is
Like
that
it's
that Antarctica Treaty thing? I don't know a lot about it, but certainly seems to be in place because we haven't had a lot of, apart from obviously decimation and genocide of our original people, but we haven't had bombs and those sorts of things to
no,
any great extent, which is
no.
surprising.
It's pretty sleepy, really,
Mm.
Australia, comparatively to the rest of the world. It's just got a very sleepy little vibe. And at the same time, they make it difficult to be here. You know, once like right now, as Cam said, they're really pushing the financial difficulties of being here. I mean, we're the highest tax, we're the most expensive country in the world now. I mean,
Since,
little old casual little laid back Aussie,
yeah,
like it's really shifted since the 70s, so shifted.
Yeah.
And now
yeah.
it's coveted, but it's stable.
Sydney's more expensive than Tokyo for
Yeah.
Oh,
everything.
so
Yep.
So
Unimaginable.
it's crazy what's going
wow.
on here.
But yes, the story of the invasion is a fascinating one. I mean, it's just our version of the story from our like the last 20 years of research and where it takes us. And it's really great because what I love about it is that we land back on Earth. And I'm very excited to land back on Earth because, if you enter the truth community in any way over the last 40 years, everyone makes a big fucking effort to take you off Earth, to take you out into unknown solar systems, traveling with unknown beings, in this like, transparent reality that doesn't really exist. There's a big effort and push to do that within the truth community, and it's very nice for Campbell and I to, validate and evidence back onto Earth. And that's where I get most excited. And I love the work you do with portals because one of the topics that I just at the moment so pumped about is understanding the technology of Earth.
Yeah.
Understanding this giant, amazing creator being that we come from and its capabilities, which far surpass anything else. And we know so little about it. So little. But that to me is going to be what the shift is all
Mm.
about, from our perspective, anyway.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
got fascination with these star forts. I loved your article, Cam, and you know,
Jeez.
labyrinths and these portal spaces. I mean, you see all of the descriptions of cryptid entities, these otherworldly entities that are just bizarre. Almost always there's a portal space involved. So
Hmm.
there's either interdimensional time frame, you're seeing something from the past or the future, or it's simply in a different dimension, but it's accessible from here. With the portal key, the portal stones, the portal keys that was in one of the Tartaria mags, that was just fascinating because
Yep.
obviously that's a key to get
Yep.
through. And that takes me back to the Freeland passport, which has a labyrinth on the front cover. It's obviously people can transcend and go into all these different portal spaces if they're special people, if they're allowed to, if they've got enough money or they don't have the secret society nous. So we can translocate. That's the technology we have here on this planet. We're just those of us who, don't have a portal key or
All
don't
right.
or are part of those secret societies don't get the opportunity.
I
Okay.
wonder
So
if
so
we
you think
are
they're still
a
using
portal
this
key.
portal, sorry, Cal, these
No, go for it.
portals to get around and sort of hide what they're doing.
I know individuals who have translocated
Wow.
that are living now.
I've never heard that term translocated. I like it. I'm
Yeah,
going to use that. Translocated.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, like when I was having my interaction with the super soldier all those years ago, he used to tell me all these stories about how they would just, travel that way. It was just a
Ah,
standard super
okay.
soldier
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that's true or not, whether he was true or not. But the point is, he did talk a lot about that and
Yeah.
introduced me to the concept of it being a possible reality here on Earth and certainly a coveted one. Yeah, definitely. And it seems very active in Australia, which
Yeah.
is so interesting because, you get this really impression of Australia of just being just in the sort of like the boondocks of this earth. And, it doesn't get much attention. And we always have these, lame government um, beings that, and nothing about Australia feels strong on that level, like we don't have any world position as such in that way, by design, of course, by
Well, we
design.
do in the secret societies. We
Yes,
do
we do
from
in the
that
secret.
angle. That's why
Yes,
they keep such a small population here.
that's
But when you
right.
think about Uluru being Uluru is a chakra point of the earth. It's a crossing point of dragon lines. There's only a very small handful of dragon lines on the planet. There's the largest, the most powerful of the ley lines. And so you've got, Pine Gap very close by because they're doing interdimensional studies
Yeah.
within the chakras point, and also probably doing quite a bit of damage to the earth at the same time. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of secret stuff going on.
So what are your thoughts on CERN and all this kind of stuff and portals there? That some ladies come out and said that she saw a being come through a portal at CERN and then there's the whole quantum computers, right? Where Geordie Rose, one of the creators, says that they're literally going into other dimensions and bringing back information and they're, what does he say? They're praying at the altar of an alien god or something like this.
Oh, I've no doubt. I have no doubt. Look at Salmon. It looks like an enormous portal.
It does.
You look at the stone circles and there's a place in Avebury where people are actually like there's houses and stuff inside a portal. Like they've marked it out, there's a moat and everything, and they've actually got people living in that space. And you just think how much interdimensional weird hauntings and things must you have in that location because it's all
Mm.
the different dimensions are accessible. So for me, CERN is they've pointed it out, but they've done it all underground, which is very concerning because your darkest entities are more comfortable underground. So
Indeed.
that's the point of putting it under and a
Indeed.
26K radius or something. So this is a huge portal that they've created. They probably would have already had a portal there, it would have been a crossing point of powerful ley lines anyway. But they've created it because they want to bring in dark entities, not light, because they have to have it underground to do that. Dark entities don't like the light, they don't like the surface
Yeah.
treatment.
They're all about the artificial light, the lack of light.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a big topic
The
in our show,
false light.
actually.
Yeah.
Yes, the false light, the opposite of light.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Yeah, like the gin, right? They describe the gin as smokeless fire, which sounds like electricity, which is the false light, which what is that's what everyone's staring at right now, right? The 2D world. It's not real.
They've got
Yeah.
to try so hard, though. I mean, look at the effort they have to go to like recreate or access these points. They have to try really hard. They've got to put in a lot of man-made technology. It's all about the technology, but it's like it's such a big effort, comparatively to say what was before that time. I mean, Campbell and I, we theorized with Tartaria, like this whole realm that opened up across the whole, that was evidenced across the whole earth, the whole realm, right? And we, that it wouldn't be much of a jump in logic to consider that earthbound portals were how that was possible, how this amazing civilization and structures just repeated themselves worldwide. We don't see much evidence of ships, so we're not even sure if the oceans were even there. And the traveling points to move these extraordinary architectural feats around the world and have it sort of like everywhere. It would make sense to us that Earth portals were just a very, evidenced and common part of the Earth experience. So, I mean, I think that, and obviously we went through some form of a reset. And at that point, they've had to try really, really hard. They've had to put in a lot of effort, a lot of energy to
Mm.
to sort of replicate this or to manipulate this.
Yeah.
Like I've got a question for you guys. Like, one of our very first interviews we ever did was with Stephen and Evan
Kevin, yeah.
Strong.
Awesome.
And like this is our second show ever when we were talking about the Crystal City. And And they told us a story about Cook arriving with his soldiers, and as he wrote, and they came here to do war for the law. So, which is an interesting turn of phrase, right? For the law.
Yeah.
And so, you have to ask, is the law, a physical object? And that physical object that they did war for, what was it? And because from that story, the indigenous, who were in their own words, far surpassed in their abilities, certainly their
Yeah.
magical superpower abilities, that they could have laid siege and annihilated Cook's soldiers. This story of convicts is a story. These were soldiers, and easily, but instead decided to like walk away from the technology and handed them the law, knowing that the cycle would loop back to this time now. So I don't know if you guys heard anything of that or your thoughts on that, but the law being a physical object, I think that's interesting.
Could this possibly be, the Ark of the Covenant that Nikki's been talking
Ooh,
about?
the arc. We definitely get into that in our show as well.
Oh, we get into the
Oh,
ark.
wonderful. Okay.
The
Excellent.
ark. I don't think it was the Ark of the Covenant because the Ark seemed to be basically given as a blueprint to Moses to build.
Moses,
It was definitely something that was handed down by inverted commas God, not God, God,
Yahweh,
not God.
El.
Yeah. And was literally like handed down as a blueprint to replicate. And of course, weirdly enough, Trumpy, old Trump, has replicated that recently, and it's now in Margalago, is that the right word?
Mar-a-Lago.
Margalogo, whatever. His like palace.
I like it
Um,
better.
a perfect replica of the Ark of the Covenant. So and of
Mm,
course our age group all kind of intercepted with the concept of the Ark of the Covenant through
Indiana
Raiders of the Lost
Jones.
Ark
Yes.
and Indiana Jones. So we were introduced to it as like a comic, as a comic story sort of thing, but it is playing a fundamental role in modern politics right now, like fundamental. Like it is
Mm,
basically the whole end game for the Trump phenomenon is that third temple to rehouse the Ark of the Covenant.
Okay. Wow.
And that always makes me think of Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
so
This fucking evil eye that needs these relics to come together in order to take physical form onto this realm, which is basically what I think they're all aiming for, to
Oh,
bring their
mm,
god through.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's I mean, these entities don't want to go to hell.
Mm,
So they need to keep with the Mothers of Darkness, which is the highest level sort of witches, basically. They pass the breath from the dying Mother of Darkness to the new Mother of Darkness. So they pass it on the entity that's controlling, which sounds horrific. And I can't imagine how anybody would sign themselves up for that, but they're sort of basically bred for purpose. These Mothers of Darkness don't really have much choice. So they just want to avoid that possibility of having to go somewhere to repent or to, basically your frequency. If you've got a really horrible frequency, you go to a realm that's a really horrible frequency when you pass. And they try to avoid that, which is this whole transhumanism, robots, cloning, that whole it's what it's all about, to avoid it.
mm, mm.
yeah, yeah. So, what do you think about cloning? Like, there's obviously been a bit come out in the Epstein files about it all, and obviously, with Tartaria, there's the whole orphan trains and the baby incubators and all
Yeah.
this back in the day. So there does seem to be a bit of a story there with cloning. So, what do you think about it? Is that what's going on?
Oh, I think that it's absolutely obvious that they have that sort of technology. When they were doing the IVF baby stuff, that was when they were really going for it, so there'd be clones everywhere. What I find confusing is how you can have anything that's living without a soul. I don't know that that's possible. I'd say they still have a soul, and those souls probably also put their hand up to come and take over this body, but yeah, it's not the same soul as the person who's been cloned, I don't believe.
I mean,
So
it's an interesting one, right? We're told that life is this rare thing, right? Because the universe is empty and it's just little old Earth. But our experience, when you walk around the Earth, life is the only thing, right? Like we've all seen when they go and clear a block of land, and then 3 months later, it's covered in life again. So with this whole cloning thing and making bodies, I just kind of figure that if there's a vessel, something's probably going to inhabit it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be animated. You can't
Mm,
Yeah,
have
parasites. Yeah,
animation without a soul. It's not
mm.
possible.
parasites can inhabit dead bodies. They do
Oh,
that in the animal kingdom for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what's your like just to because we're going to show this tonight on Friday on our podcast, Rach. So for our audience, give me like a kind of an overview of your summary of what's going on here, like from your perspective.
Well, so obviously we're going into what I believe is a very positive frequency. Like humanity's going up levels, and I get to see that because I'm an aura reader, and I know other aura readers who see things the way that I do, and they're seeing it too. So what we've got at the moment is a lot of souls getting to what's called an usher frequency, and that's top level frequency. And that frequency involves, it's interesting because that's also a rainbow aura, lots of different colors in the aura. Most people have one or two, and this is just the whole gamut. Ushers are here to help souls to pass over. So at the same time, we've got all these humanity getting to this, or a lot of souls getting to this frequency, or a lot of very high level souls previously who were getting to that frequency to do this work. We've got people, the dark, desperately trying to hold on, trying to stop that frequency from rising. So we're seeing all of this, fear porn being pumped out constantly and every time you see that, every time you see a humanity rising, all together, like I'll be reading for people and suddenly this person's an usher and that person's an usher, and it's like, far out, why is everybody doing it all at once? It's because it was always going to happen. It's not something that can be, changed or removed, but it can be slowed down. So then you get your war rhetoric and you get your nuclear war rhetoric. And, I've been learning through, I've done an interview recently with but Billy and I did with a nuclear physicist, Dr. Stephen Young, and, you know, it's not real. So it's
Yeah,
just,
it's good. I don't believe
it's
in
just
nuclear. Yeah.
amazing. It's sulfur. So when you look at it from that perspective, the desperation to keep us in a low frequency at the moment, it's not working.
Mm.
So I think we're the tide has turned. I like to use the maritime law against them because they believe that they own the ocean. The dark believes they own the ocean. So what we're seeing, Epstein stuff coming out. Who released it? I don't know because it's crazy because the administration supposedly did seems bereft about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm so
That's the weird
confused.
thing. Why would they do that and incriminate themselves? Like it
I
doesn't
don't
make a
know.
lot of sense, does it? So I'm still not
Yeah.
sure what to think about that whole sort of
Someone or
scenario.
something else is pulling strings.
Well,
That's
this is
that's
the
the way.
question I ask a lot because it does seem that there's some other force that's more of a good force behind the scenes because a lot seems to get out, right? And if certain people own the entertainment industry and all the computer, websites and the internet and the AI, then how does information get out, right? If this is like my question, it's been a question for a long time. Like, so it does seem that there's some good entity or entities, force, whatever, that's in there somehow that's kind of, letting stuff trickle out.
I
Yeah.
mean, isn't it a matter of consciousness, though? Like, I mean, wouldn't that force be the earth itself? Like if the earth is the positive charge that gives us life, which is the fact, and then it's up against this negative charge that's artificial in nature, the opposite of life, then by its very nature, it has to supersede the dead. It can't help itself. It has no other way to go. And if it's superseding the dead, which is all of the other stuff, this whole agenda to me is in the realm of the dead, the artificial, the dead, then, I think that the earth itself is, and Campbell and I started talking about the difference in the charges, a couple of years ago. So like for us, we would say that the charge, the positive charge is by its nature, by its consciousness, increased dramatically. And
Oh,
as a result, things must shift in our reality as a result. It must shift in our perception as a result. So I don't know if it's something they even can control, because I mean, if we look at the reality of this realm right now, and I mean, I've never heard the term the mothers of darkness. This is very rock and roll term there, Rach.
yeah.
Like, it's like a album cover from the 70s sort of vibe.
All right,
which
shall
of course is
we?
which is where all the music industry, like
Oh,
came from, right? Let's just be admit that as well.
yeah.
But like if we look at this sort of the nature of the positive versus the negative charge, then we would say the positive charge runs through beings of service, service to others, right? That is the origin and the vessel of the positive charge. And then you've got the negative charge, which is service to self, right? And we would know in our little lives, this lifetime of ancient beings that we are, this little lifetime so far, these 50 years or whatever, we have definitely seen, and even though they've thrown the best of themselves at us, people give us this concept that artificial intelligence is like supersedes our intelligence by, millions of percent, that we could never even comprehend being anywhere near it, right? And they've thrown it all at us. And they are masters of psychology. Like
Mm.
that is, if you were to put artificial intelligence, right at the beginning of our origin, and their ability to mass accumulate and translate consciousness, which is kind of what AI does, right? Even today. They've thrown the best of that at us, but it's made them master psychologists. So they know how to manipulate the human brain. They know how to manipulate because we're pretty simple. Our process is our brain is pretty simple, right? We respond to repetition. That's one thing that is just a fact. Our brains are designed that way. We learn through repetition. So when you start manipulating us through repetition, it's very easy to manipulate our reality. And yet, and still, here we are. Like they
Yeah.
haven't been able to touch us.
You
Here
must be
we
so
are, and
annoyed.
there, yeah. So there is a fucking charge that is going through those who are service to others. And if I was to use your term usher, I mean that's the origin of an usher energy, right? You have to ultimately, to me, that would be a percentage of service to others.
Oh, 100.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the more service to others we are in nature, and that is our nature, obviously. Like I struggle to even, I was cleaning my house the other day. I'm going to Japan tonight, right? And I was cleaning my house. And there's all these daddy long legs there, they're just everywhere and like they create a mess, right? They create cobwebs, they're just those things. I struggle to remove them, and I just think to myself, would you do the same for me? If it was me in the corner of your bedroom, would you struggle to remove me or would you not think about it? But the nature of humans, when they're in their service to others, we don't naturally do things like harm another living being.
Yeah.
We just can't do it. It's not in our nature. The only way we would do it is just like not being tuned into our own nature. So once you are tuned into it, it's difficult to harm another living being. It really, even if you know that in reverse they would totally annihilate you without question, which is probably the arachnoid insexual family. But from our perspective, it's difficult to do that because it goes against our nature. Now, if that's our nature, in spite of everything that's been going on right now, in spite of all the shit that gets thrown at us, and you have had one of those lives, Rach, like you've had a big one of those lifetimes, and yet still here we are. Still here you are, mate. It's still here you are. You're not seeking revenge. You're not seeking that energy of hatred.
No.
You're seeking your process has been in service. They can't, how can they can't affect that. They
No.
can't change that. They can't even chip away at it, God damn it, because we're earthlings and that's who we are.
Yeah, and this whole thing with this AI, trying to take over, we were all connected to the Akashic through wisdom. I mean, this is the whole point of, having a pineal gland, and they've attacked that in every possible way with fluoride and everything else, because it's an attack on wisdom. Because they don't
Mm-hmm.
want us to have it, but we've got it in
Mm-hmm.
spades, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not hard to
No.
hold on to that and to recognize that the Akashic is in the ley lines.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a crop circle, I believe that's the earth communicating with us. She sends out
Yes.
ball lightning and that gets caught up in the ley lines. They swirl around in a vortex of a portal space, and she prints out what her information is that's in that Akashic portal space. She's
Mm-hmm.
communicating with us, but we have to
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, it's aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah,
She's trying to tell us something.
I
Mm-hmm.
agree. Especially have you seen where they get the crop circles and make them into a 3D?
Oh,
And
I
it's
haven't seen
all, yeah, it's really cool. It's all sacred geometry and it's got all these maths in there. It's literally like you said, it's information. And I agree. I think it's the earth giving us information, which is maybe where all this information of all the old world buildings came from, right? because
Yeah.
they're all based on the same kind of thing, like sacred geometry and energy points and all this stuff. And yeah, they try and tell us it's aliens or men with, a board and a piece of rope
Yeah.
walking around the field at night.
That board creates microwave energy that burns that
Yeah, it
cooks
makes the
food at
root
the
grows
strongest
faster
part.
on one side. Yes, I know. Have you ever seen that video? I think it's still up on YouTube, and it shows like a orb, like a sprite or something on this field, just comes up and flies
Oliver's,
around, and this
Oliver's
top
Castle, I
circle
show
just
that. Yeah.
appears.
I show that in my course because it's so spectacular. How can you
Mm,
ignore it? And you can see ley lines run in pairs. There's always a larger and a smaller, they run in pairs. And you can see there's
okay.
two of them working together as they
Yeah,
go around
right.
in the vortex. They go around two times. They print out like a needle in a record player. In a record, they print out the information and then they fly off. It's just amazing.
Record player,
Incredible.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, what have you got or found any correlations between ley lines and star forts?
Oh, that's why I was so fascinated by what you were looking into. I haven't gone there yet. I've been
I,
so caught up with labyrinths and translocation, fascinated by that. And the whole portal space thing, fairy circles. People talk about getting lost in a fairy circle, coming back and 100 years have passed. These are, time, time doesn't exist within these portals too. So I'd love to hear your theories around the star forts.
yeah, well, I mean, to me, that they seem to be like somatic shapes, right? So representing frequencies,
Of
and
course.
I see them, I guess, like as amplifiers, built on certain points, crossings of ley lines and things, and representing that energy in that area, and built to amplify it.
Oh, wow.
I think that they're ancient. I think they're old. I think that because now all the star forts have got all these red brick buildings in them, but I think that was done later. I think the star forts were, 'cause the way I see it is we've had, 5 or 6 resets already. And we can see, like the pyramids and then the giant megaliths and then the star forts. And you can sort of see this progression downwards, really, right? to where we are now. We're obviously not at the epitome of humankind. And I think that's the sine wave, right? The positive to negative to positive. And I think that's where we are now. We're just coming out of this negative and everything's starting to power up again, and the charge is going to change, so those in charge are going to change,
Oh,
right? All
yeah.
these people that we elect into power, we literally, it's because they're aligned with the dominant power of the earth at that time, and because it's been negative, then the negative entities are empowered, and so they're the ones in power.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's all, it's in the sort of it's starting to flip, right?
Even the numerology, like the one in 1900s or 1800s or whatever, we've had 1,000 years of the one, as in that's patriarchy, and I've got nothing against men because women are worse, quite frankly. The ones I grew up with were worse, but that number one, that selfishness, that satanic me, me, me. We've come into the twos now, and numerologically, the twos are about love. They're about the mother and child. They're about the family. They're the couple. It's the man and woman together, standing together, the yin and the yang. So it was always going to shift at this point. So and we're in the 2020s now. So this is where it's going to get really very interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yes,
Fuck
we're
yeah.
still learning
2030.
about numerology. We haven't
Yeah.
grasped that one totally yet, but I think it's got to play a major part, right? Because that's what the Allites do. It's always on certain dates and certain numerology, and like they
Yeah.
love it. So they've got information that we don't, that they're working with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But we've got it now too. I mean, it's coming out everywhere. All of this information's coming out. It's not being repressed
Man,
because, controlled religions haven't got that control anymore.
no, it's the apocalypse, man. It's all being unveiled, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, religions. Tish,
Religion,
tish,
the
tish, tish on the
religion.
topic of religions. Man, like that's where we kind of like our story sort of begins at the origin of religion, actually, kind of around that time, just preceding it. And it was really amazing because we've gone through such a journey with trying to work out, the origin of this and the actual, the mechanism of this invasion and where we've come from. But I tell you, and we oscillate, with this whole idea of negative and positive charge. But, there has been no time in human history more powerful than this
Yeah.
for the earthlings. Like we are consciously coming into a whole new charge, and nothing can touch that. I'm just so clear about that. There is nothing that can touch the radiant positive charge that is our nature. And like you can't do much with it, can you? All you can really do at this point is just like take our lives. You can't psychologically manipulate us. You can't sign us up for any of your stupid programs. You can't like we won't enlist in anything anymore. And now we're like the big old lost white tribe on the fringe of all of this, this huge movement of humanity that sits at the fringe as this whole side of reality dissolves in front of our eyes. I mean, it's just like it's dissolving. And because we have no more interest in interacting with it, like we're not dependent on it. That we, in our general average lives, we may like go to their supermarkets and buy some food, or we might, go to the ATM and use some money or whatever. But at the end of the day, we are certainly not dependent on it, and certainly in the most important way, mentally or psychologically or emotionally, or, we are just separate from that now. So it is dissolving in front of our eyes. And the beings that are sort of holding that all together and propping that all up, they're sort of like, they're at the lower end of knowing their humanity,
Yeah.
if you like.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so they would take in the substances, and they'll take in the requirements and the entry pass and the laws that sort of bind you to that reality. But that's not us anymore. Like, and I don't believe that we were all born, this community all born at the similar time, and we're all in that same space from the beginning. From the beginning, we were the weirdos on the fringe of our social systems, and we were the
Yeah.
ones, at school that just were a little bit different from all the other girls and boys. And, we just always knew it. And we always had a healthy disassociation with it, if you like. And I mean, these are exciting times. We're like
Mm.
coming into, now that we've just, dissolved the deception, what's left is us to acknowledge our brilliance, and to acknowledge the brilliance that radiates off us and the power in that. Things bounce off us now. Like literally, there's a force field around us and I truly believe that none of us can die accidentally. I don't believe that happens. I think that we, as radiant earthlings, cannot die accidentally, and that we are completely in a frequency field that is highly protective. I
Oh,
just feel that. I mean,
yeah.
even when the worst shit is thrown at us, we still buoyant ourselves to the surface without even trying, really. And in the extent of what is possible for them to try to keep us down. I mean, we're amazing. We are amazing. And what an amazing community. What an amazing community here on Earth of Earthlings that are going to dream us into this new reality. And we don't even have to try hard because it's literally our nature. Our
Mm.
nature is to make known the unknown. Our nature is to dream the impossible dream. We don't even barely have to try these days. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's what a fucking excellent time to be alive, really.
Really is.
Really.
It really is. And like we said before too, they can try and take us out, but some of us are more dangerous dead.
Oh, yeah.
You're not trapped in
That's
a
Like
funny.
physical
Obi-Wan
body.
Kenobi, right? Strike me down and I'll become more powerful.
That is hilarious. And so, yeah, it's much better for them to keep us alive.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
But
because
I
it would
think
be
it's
like a
all about,
nuclear power source.
sorry. Yeah,
Sorry, go,
it's all
Cam.
about solutions too, right? All this energy stuff that's going on. And obviously they're going to get into the food and that. But they want us to buy the fear and go, which is them going, come back into the system.
Yes.
We'll save you here, because we obviously haven't done it, off our own back. So they're like, oh my God, let's push them. But it just gives us opportunities, right? Like if we can't shop at their shops, well, that means we have to create our own stuff.
Yeah.
Like all these are steps to making us less reliable on the system, and
Mm.
to the point where it won't even matter at all, right? All this fuel stuff, there's alternative fuels. There's way to run cars on things that aren't petrol, and this is going to push all that kind of stuff forward, I think.
Yeah.
And so their little plan of, haha, we'll corral them into the system is going to completely backfire, which looks like everything they've done right for the last 5 years. they don't seem to be able to get a win. Everything they put out, and they're like, haha, this will get them. It all collapses in a heap, and we
Agreed.
seem to come out on top. So they
Because
Agreed.
spray more
their
stuff
time
and
and
they
their
put more
system is
chemicals,
done. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there are time frames. So this is something that I learned as a child. There are time frames where they can have power, and they're outside of that time frame now. That all they can
Mm,
do is try and desperately to keep us down, which isn't working.
Mm.
And
mm.
they've thrown everything, haven't they? They've thrown
Yeah.
everything at us.
They're
And
going
every
hardcore.
time they throw something else, as you said, Cam, like that, all it does is literally allow us to define even further the new version of reality, the new version of us. I mean, when COVID hit, I was in Melbourne, and as it hit, what I actually watched is like suddenly, hundreds of thousands of families started homeschooling. And suddenly, over the last 5 years, all these homeschool situations and experiments and explorations popped up all over the world. And, now there's like a healthy percentage of kids that will never know school because they've been now put into this homeschooling situation, and they are so varied and so different and so unique. Each one of them has a different combination of their elements. And that was a result of COVID. And that was just one example. And so, yeah, I mean, the fuel situation, it's going to be annoying, but in that annoyance, it's going to become like a definition, contrast burst definition for us. So, contrast burst desire, so that's the thing, right? They can't do anything. If they provide us with contrast, it clarifies our desire, which then brings forth the new version of Earth that we want. So like, and if they're really nice to us, we don't even think about them. So if they don't do anything, we just ignore them. But if they do something, it defines our desires. So it's an inevitable journey to where we're through this timeline right around. They can't do anything that's not going to be in service to us
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah.
Mm.
What it does is it forces people to get out of the cities. Grow a garden, no matter how small your backyard might be, you can grow. You can grow
Yeah,
something. Find out where your farmers are. Learn about primary oil, primary water, hydrogen engines. There's just so many different things that we can all be looking at. So that's what they're pushing us into doing, which
I
is
know.
fantastic.
It's perfect and it's unavoidable because
Yeah,
that's how humans by nature work. They can't not do it by their very nature, by them being the walking dead and artificial and non-life, then by their very nature, they define our own desires. And then, as we are the dreamers of this realm, as we are the true time lords of this realm, then by their very existence, we define the new earth.
yeah,
So, I mean, it's just like, it's a
Yeah.
perfect and beautiful paradox and irony that goes on. So as we work through this like truth community and truth movement over the last, 30 years or whatever most people have been in it, all it's really done is got us clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer on our desires. Clearer and clearer. So, yes, we may focus on breaking through their deceptions, but in doing that, our impossible dream starts to take form. And I'm kind of done with the truth community. Like I'm kind of at that level now where I'm like let's all get off the crack a bit because it's become a bit of a drug addiction for many. And I think you can loop in it now. I think there's always more to discover. But generally speaking, we've kind of got the overview of the picture, I think.
yeah,
Everyone has a different word, maybe like the language we still, but we all kind of have a good overview by now. And
Mm.
in that time, you would have, by your nature, defined a version of reality that you would love.
yeah,
And so I think this charge that's running through humanity right now is the activation point, the node point for us to make the shift from accumulating knowledge into the version of like putting it into practice and it becoming wisdom. And in
Mm.
doing that, you're going to literally build a new version of reality that you would love.
which is just absolutely beautiful. And that brings me to share screen, so we can have a look at what's coming up. Because, part of it is teaching people, but also bringing people together.
Yeah,
Bringing people
man.
together is so important. So
Oh, the
Billy and I have been
gathering.
discussing, we might be doing some sort of lay love down um, get-togethers, sort of traveling around doing some similar to what you're doing basically for lay love down. So Adelaide. So we've got
Adelaide.
Parks Theatre, 2nd of May. your prices are really good. I mean, you've obviously kept it down because you do. It's not about money, which is beautiful. I'm so looking forward to this.
We're so excited you're coming, Rach. We're so
Mm,
excited.
Oh, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have so much fun. I'm looking forward to learn. And just be with your community because I know your community is just amazing. So people just go to this link. So I keep sharing this under all of my posts. So and you've obviously you guys would have it all over your socials as well. I mean, look at these prices. It's just crazy. And I noticed you've got a concession as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course.
77 for concession holders, which is that's a huge, beautiful. So
mm.
get you and your bestie there.
You and your bestie, mate.
185. That's just beautiful to see. And we're going to try and keep that, the prices down when we do our own stuff. Um,
Mm,
it's not a
yeah,
talk, it's not a podcast, it's a live immersion. I love it. I love
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and it's not, we do a show obviously on the Saturday, but then we always go out the night afterwards and we hang out with everyone. And then on
Yeah,
the Sunday, of course, this time you're going to be speaking. So it's not just one event. When you get your ticket, you've got the day, you've got the
the whole
next day, you've
weekend.
got the night time. You can meet us, you can meet all your tribe and that, because that's what we've found through all the events we've done is it's not really got that much to do with me and Kelly. It's people gathering and meeting their tribes and making connections, and we've just seen it. People going from literally being isolated alone since 2020 to meeting their best mates.
Yeah.
And they travel around, they go and meet each other, they form groups, and that's the real power in it. So it's not just come and sit down and watch me and Kelly talk. It's an immersive experience.
Heck yeah. And we know I love it. I love it. I love speaking. And 8 hours, you get a whole day and it's all, lots of video and lots of images. And it's certainly a wonderful experience. And of course, Cam and I are just presenting our version of this, like the summary of our work so far. And of course, there's always other bits and bobs to add in. And every time we do a live gathering, people will come and tell us many things, many things. And I love it so much. I'm so present to it because each show we do like gets sort of evolves and evolves and
Yeah.
evolves. It never stays still. So every time we do a live event, depending on the audience that appears, and we haven't ever been to South Australia, so we are super excited to meet anyone from South Australia. This is the moment. This is our moment to actually meet anyone in that area. So we're really excited to come. And, Cam and I, we just love meeting anyone. So that makes the effort to get there. There could be 5 people or 500. It does like we will make an effort to get around and meet every single person. And as a result, you are going to share your stories and your wisdom and your knowledge with us. And you won't even know you're doing it. And our little ears will peak up and, the show will evolve. And that's what's so amazing about it. The show evolves after each live event based on the audience that comes and talks and tells their stories. And, you can't get more of an authentic version of reality. That's one that's being built as the gatherings happen. And it's so alive in that way. And I love it so much. And so yeah, so we're really super pumped to come and meet and to hang out with you, Rach. I'm super excited about that. And do you know you're going to get your magazine, your newspaper, and look, the whole front cover
Oh,
I did in dedication to your article, my friend.
oh, that is stunning. Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
So
Absolutely beautiful.
Rachel's got a really fantastic article in this edition on labyrinths and fairy circles. So for Rachel's audience, find the page. We've got a lovely big
Ooh.
article,
Oh,
and
that's
there's all
so
the
cool.
fairy circles. So
Wow,
just
you've
so
done well.
so
Oh,
just
beautiful.
just a plug, Rach. Like, give us the quick summary of fairy circles.
So they're interdimensional. So a fairy circle is a portal, and you'll often see them marked out by mushrooms. Mushrooms are one of the most intelligent species or
Hmm.
organisms on the planet. They are the healers. They are the ones that break down the old things so they can bring up the new. They transmute minerals and materials. They're incredible. So they'll mark out a portal. So where you get a crossing of ley lines, you get these spherical portal spaces. It's like a big sphere. It's like a recreation of the earth, but it's and you can see them. They're just not as easy to see as a ley line because ley lines are visible. We have cryptochromes to pick up on them. just like birds and insects, but apparently they don't exist. It's quite hilarious. Um, so these portal spaces are interdimensional, and when people walk into them, they have been lost. They've been off with the fairies. They've gone off, and this is where we get this sort of terminology. And then they come back and they're changed, but and long stretches of time have passed since they've been gone. There's so many stories of people disappearing in front of witnesses
Mm.
and their voices being heard for periods of time, shouting out to people, but they can't be seen. So they can be
Mm.
heard but not seen because they're in another dimension. They've crossed over into a different dimensional space. And this is part of this translocation thing. That I know people who have gone into a portal space and they've ended up in a different country. Another incredibly significant spiritual space, another sacred space, another portal. So that's what these spaces are. They're interdimensional and you can translocate through them. I think there might be, I would say you either hack it somehow so that these elites with these, I'm curious about these Freeland passports that have the labyrinth on the front. Maybe they can hack it somehow where they don't have to have wisdom to be able to access, but I think it's mostly people who have gone through the whole gamut of experiences to get to a point of wisdom, a very high frequency, that are actually allowed to travel through them. The story of Buddha taking his body into the ether, that's him going to a portal space, taking his body with him.
Well, it's
So,
interesting. Like, there's so many pictures of Jesus too, right? Coming out of the Vesica Pisces.
okay, all right, I better look into that one. You've just told me something new.
Mm.
So I mean, the Earth. This is someone was saying to me the other day. How arrogant are we to even think that we could dupe the earth in any way, shape, or form? She knows exactly what's going on. She will slough us off if she has to. You've got to be really careful what we do with her. But yeah, again, I know enough people get into this higher frequency. And again, this usher frequency is the frequency to help lost or dark souls go where they belong. So we've got all these souls at the moment, all these incarnate humans who have this ability now to get rid of those dark entities that have been causing schizophrenia and psychosis and attaching to people for so long. That's the next process is clean. It's a cleanup. We're cleaning up psychopomp.
It's like the true Earth rapture, Like it's interesting that you talk like that because so many of the stories that I've come across and the knowledge that I've looked at, does all kind of point to this moment in time where the trapped, lost souls are released, that this big clearing does occur, and we're in that time. So, and what is the word usher? What does usher, where does that come from? What is usher? What does it represent as a word?
It's a term. Well, so I work as a psychic and have ever since I was a small child, not out of choice as a child. And my understanding, because it was a download, it wasn't something that I decided. The understanding was that these are souls that whether incarnate or discarnate, and I've seen the dark version that scour the earth trying to catch these demons to take them where they belong, and they're terrifying. And that's where your Grim Reaper imagery comes from. But those that are light ushers are here to help those souls move to where they're meant to go. And when
Mm.
you're an incarnate soul, you've got different abilities as well. Other abilities come in at those frequencies. So this is like what you just said, the rapture, but their souls are passing through as they're meant to.
Mm.
They're not supposed to be stuck here. We're not supposed to have all these piezoelectric gravestones in graveyards holding souls into portal
Ah,
spaces.
interesting.
Graveyards are in churchyards usually, and that's a portal space. So they're being held. These shrines to the fallen with their names on them. When you call a name, you or you read a name or you think of a name, you bring that soul in. So people going to those shrines doing what they think is a pilgrimage to say thank you to those souls are actually holding them here.
Mm.
Interesting.
And it would be interesting if that, well, obviously that's all by design.
Yes,
So holding those souls here must be a part of the charge. It
it is.
must
It's
support
delusion.
the negative charge.
It's
That's
delusion.
interesting. I haven't thought about that before. So
No.
the clearing of that and the healing of that is going to alter the charge situation even further. Interesting because it's true. Like every healer, every person I know is in a constant state of releasing and removing negative
Yes.
beings and entities and healing and clearing spaces. Like it seems to be innate to this community.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a constant thing. But I think before all of the ley lines and controlled ley lines in cities were set into a negative frequency where they would go spinning in the wrong direction to hold things here instead of letting them release. I think that we had shamans who would do that, to a degree, but not, it wasn't going to be their all day, everyday job. Whereas now it's a full-on job. People are having to do it constantly.
Mm.
So would
Yeah.
that make, sorry, Cam, I was
I was
just
just going
about,
to say,
yeah.
you go. You
No,
go.
no, go. Go, my friend,
I was just
go.
going to say, yeah, we look at it as a frequency takeover. That's what the
Yeah.
takeover was. You look at especially the cathedrals, all the bells got taken out, all the organs got
Mm.
taken out, choirs don't really exist anymore. And so it was all frequency, right? Sound frequency, to raise the frequency, right? To keep everyone protected and healthy and all this kind of stuff. And I think that was the first thing they needed to do was dismantle that so that they could then change the energies.
But yeah,
Mm.
So question then, would that also, I mean, if they're by burying the dead in improper way, I'm very big about proper way, so the opposite of proper way, and keeping names and plaques and memorials and headstones and tombstones, all those things in portal spaces, would that also equate to the cannibalism where they've been, because Cam and I've done lots of shows where we've looked at the disparity between the amount of people apparently dying and the amount of new graves apparently not being built, and the disparity across the realm of hundreds of millions a year. And and then the question of where are those bodies, if they even existed in the first place, because you can't trust the census with population births and deaths. That's just all the programming. We can't tell. But you've got all these, there's a lot of content now about human remains being what makes up the fast food chain, and the basically the body of the dead being, like McDonald's, for example, or any of them, any of those fast food chains, they don't own one farm. So let's just talk about McDonald's. They don't own a farm. They do not run cattle or own farms. Instead, they actually own 140 for children's hospitals. So, like, the fast food chain do not invest in the farm, which is apparently where the meat for all their millions of burgers a day come. They don't. They invest in, they actually shareholders in the company in the States, and there's only one main one that goes around and collects all the organs and dead bodies and amputations from all the hospitals. That's what they own, right? So, all that human remain conceptually goes into the food chain. Would that be another way of keeping the dead here in a very unholy manner?
yes, to a degree. What I'm curious about is where are the bones going? Because catacombs are a way of holding on to them too.
Yeah.
That could be incinerated, but they could also. My father had his own little catacomb with 50 skulls in it. He showed me as a child. Um,
Oh,
so that's also a way of controlling. What I also want to mention, that I mean that makes a lot of sense, and it's obvious that that's what they're pumping out. Anybody see a three-pointed crown on any kind of food delivery service or food of any kind with a three-pointed crown logo? Fucking avoid it. Excuse
okay.
my language.
That's what Hungry Jacks used to have, didn't it? Didn't
Yeah,
they have a crown with, yeah, three
yeah,
points?
yeah. They had a
Interesting.
ghost burger, a ghost burger,
A ghost
a
burger. Wow.
ghost burger with an Illuminati single eye. It's you can still see that.
Really? No
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah,
All right. Because I mean,
yeah.
one thing about the bones is that they use it as fertilizer. They crush it up and they spray it over all the crops that they then feed to. So that's
Then
another way
yeah,
of
yeah,
infusing them
yeah.
with this.
So
Yeah.
yes, Kelly, I'd never thought about it, but you're right. That is, it's another way of recycling and holding the souls here. I know
Mm.
Yeah.
with organ harvesting and organ donation, people do take on the soul of the soul that the person.
Yes. Yeah,
That's obvious.
exactly.
They
There's
suddenly
proof of
take on
that,
their
right?
traits, their tastes, their characteristics, their behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
because the essence is holding everything because we're holograms, right? Every bit contains the whole, and you put that in you, and then yeah, you've got that energy source, that memories, even habits. It's all there.
I know, and it's very symbolic, like this whole push towards cremation. Like I remember when I was a little kid, like 5, my dad bought me a whole series of art encyclopedias, and I was fascinated. Like I would sit there for hours by myself looking at those really gruesome, grotesque paintings from sort of the 15th, 16th century where they've got like, the realms of hell and all these skeletons fighting each other on the battlefield, and like I was really like fascinated by it, and I'm scared and horrified at the same time. Like it was a visual image my own mind would never have created. So it was like fascinating to me. But I remember looking at these paintings, and a lot of the theme was bodies burning in the fires. And then like as I grew and understood what cremation was, I was like, wow, there's a correlation there. Like are they replicating the burning of the bodies in hell? Is that yet another way to keep the dead here on Earth in that symbolic way. I mean, actually, if we think about it, they have done a lot of stuff to make sure the dead stay here.
Yeah.
Mm,
That is interesting, Rach. I've never thought about it like that.
Because it's supposed to be this cycle that the souls come in and then they go out. But if they can't leave and they don't want to, because the hellish realms are predatory, we're fine. We're going to go somewhere lovely and angelic. But the darker realms, there are the more powerful entities can predate on the souls of the smaller demons, the lesser demons, if you want to put it that way. And so they
mm,
don't want to go there. So they'll stick around here and they need vessels. But there's also the loose energy of holding souls that are light, that have frequency, that have this beautiful, battery source in certain locations, because that's also a kind of loose energy. And they put them in
mm.
the ley lines as well, because a lot of those lost souls are bereft. They're stuck. They're not happy. They're wandering around miserable. There's also the aspect of uh, there's a certain amount of embalming that goes on with those bodies that do finally, make their way into the ground. And embalming's not something you really want to have done because you want to release. You don't want to be stuck in that. Mummies were created so that these very, very dark kings, queens, and powerful elves would be able to come back into that body and use the body, the DNA of the body, as a portal to come in whenever they wanted to wreak havoc.
Mm.
So you don't want
Yeah.
that, but a lot of embalming is done without even the family's knowledge. It just is part
Oh,
of the process.
yeah. No, I don't want my brain pulled out through my nostrils. Thank you very much.
Mhm. I mean, it makes me think of the terracotta warriors in China. Do you
Yeah,
guys, if you got a
Yeah.
vision on that, it's like this massive, massive space with thousands of
yeah,
individualized terracotta warriors that are all completely unique. You know,
yes.
it makes me think of this, like yet another,
Thank you, because I
relationship.
thought I was the only one who looked at that and thought, "Oh my God, all those souls are stuck there."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and statues. Have you seen, like, there's been a discussion,
All
all
the
the marble
statues.
statues.
Yeah.
Now people are finding broken ones, and like the arm will be broken, and you look inside and you can see bones and like things like this. So, what are they? Because they're so amazing, right? It's like, obviously the
So
story of
perfect.
some guy with a hammer and chisel, creating David is just dumb. So, yeah, are they another way that they've held it? And does this all tie back to the concept of the soul trap? Are they keeping us in this realm, like through all these different methods, so that they can recycle us, and in that way have more control, I guess, because they're kind of controlling the souls coming into a point.
Yeah, so that they're stopping the flow, because if you stop the flow, the earth doesn't ascend, and they
Yeah.
can try and hold on to it. They're desperately trying to hold on to it,
Yeah.
but
So they're trying to
it's
keep the
completely
same
failing.
energy. Mm.
Yeah, it is failing. It is failing. The Earth is going to a fifth dimensional frequency. However people want to look at that, I know it seems very, out there. But you can just look at it as a point of everybody waking up at the same time.
Mm.
That's just a frequency upgrade.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we talk about the 2D world versus the 3D world, right? And obviously, again, we're in the 2D world now, the internet, the false light, all this stuff. And the 3D world, just got to walk outside your door, right? Have a conversation with a real person, hug a tree, walk barefoot on the ground, get back into reality, right? Which is nature. And that's our true charge. That's what gives us energy. That's what gives us answers and inspirations and all this stuff. It's all there, but they're trying to usher us in, the other way, right?
Yeah.
No, no, come and join our electronic thing. It's so great. Here's Elon Musk. Look how smart he is. AI, all this stuff, which a lot of people, well, I don't know if people are buying it because all we know is there's a lot of videos, right? But how true are they? Who are these people putting out all these videos saying it's great, it's great, AI is solving problems, this is great, look at all this technology. I kind of think it's all just propaganda to make us think that the majority of people want this and they're going down this road, but I don't actually think it's true. I think it's just all fake,
Oh,
really.
it is all fake.
I
Mm.
mean, on that topic, another curious about keeping the dead here. I love this topic. I could sit now for 8 hours and decipher this one with you. Like on that topic, a strange phenomenon that no one ever talks about that's happened now is that, when someone dies, no, like it's very difficult to basically close down or remove their Facebook page. So
Oh, that's yeah, that's
there is
yes,
literally
yes, that's
a
Oh, that's
whole
crazy.
a whole
percentage
nother level.
of
Yeah,
dead people still on Facebook and
Yeah,
still
yeah.
on their social media accounts because once if they die, most people don't have the passwords that would require. And then to close it down anyway, it's a whole process. So I'm just saying that's a weird
And
thing that the internet actually has captured
Oh,
the dead profiles and portfolios of humans,
mm,
another way that souls have been captured. I mean, I've lived it
wow.
myself with
that's
friends dying, and
that story
still,
came out that they were
it's
going to use AI to actually keep creating content from people that
wow,
had died, and they said to the point that you'll be able to FaceTime them. And these are
fuck.
Oh,
people that are dead, and it's just going to be an AI representation made off all of their Facebook history,
oh, that is incredibly creepy.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Good grief.
Creepy, creepy. And think about it. It's not, I mean, Facebook's obviously our kind of generation, but all the across all social medias,
Yeah.
there are literally accounts. So apart from the accounts that are artificial in nature anyway, run by bots, you now literally have accounts of dead people that are now still existing and their stories pop up and then and like they're still interacting and notifications come. It's like they haven't died. And yeah, AI is definitely again another route where the dead are being kept here, and I just find that fascinating. So, any
That,
thoughts on that? Yeah, because
God. That, well, yeah, my father's Facebook account's still up.
hmm
Hmm.
And I was thinking, how weird is that? Okay,
hmm
yeah, right.
hmm
It's
yep,
really
That's
creepy.
really interesting because I just watched a TV show that that's pretty much what there's a lady, her wife dies, and that's what she's talking to her wife as a representation, like an AI. So, like she's actually talking to her.
yeah,
So, that's quite interesting you bring that up.
yeah,
Wow.
Mm.
interesting. So they
And
must definitely be moving towards the technology to enable that, so that they don't even die anymore. They're just like replicated now for all time. Yep,
and there's been a lot of
crazy.
movies, right? What was that Bruce Willis one? Replicants or something? I can't remember, but where everyone was just sitting in their home in front of a screen and they had these robot altars that were going out into the world and they all looked, nice and healthy and all this. That's kind of what Facebook
Yeah,
is, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like people sitting behind and they're all, everything's falling apart and they're posting these pictures of, look how wonderful my life is. I did, it's this false, all these false entities, basically. They're not real. They're not even based off the people whose accounts they are most of the time because it's all creating this persona that doesn't, it's got nothing to do with reality, right?
And that just opens up the door for demonic entities to just come in. I mean, you see a lot of, dolls very often a vessel for an entity. They'll hop in there to freak people out
Chucky.
because the whole point is to freak people out.
Oh,
When you go through that, your aura breaks down and they can get in and steal your energy. That's the whole point of scaring people. And if you look at it from that point of view, it's not so scary because they're just trying to scare you. It's like a boo factor. But yeah, they'll take on they'll jump into any kind of vessel if they can animate it and use it. So if they want to use that. But I'm seeing the opposite of that too, because those demons could then be trapped into those spaces. It could be a way to trap little bastards.
Yeah, right.
all right. So this is
Thrown into
fascinating. And
landfill.
Chucky was a terrifying concept,
Chucky.
Rach, when
Yes,
I
absolutely.
can't, I didn't even watch it. And just the idea of it was terrifying to me. Um, like, because Cam and I tie this all back to the oceans. We tie it all back to the idea that the oceans aren't natural to this realm, and literally the salt water specifically, and that it comes up from the deep, from the deep, from the land of the dead. So this conversation of like then on the surface now actually entrapping and I mean like because we think about where did their charge come from? If it's artificial in nature, it's not alive. So if they then were to use the beings that were alive and are now dead as their charge, that would make sense to me. How do you maintain this illusion and deception and control, when your charge is artificial in nature? Wow, feed in the souls of the dead and keep them here and trap them here. Fascinating stuff.
But
Yep.
the whole remedy to the whole thing is that all these people getting to the Usher frequency all at the same time are recognizing that's their job. That's their job to release these souls. And we can send them back to source that's not as cruel, and they can start again. And maybe they'll be enlightened this time around. But then I think they actually end up going off to a different planet, to seed a different planet, to start a whole new round of incarnations.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff, man. I mean,
Mm.
it's undeniable that the nature of this community is to clear and heal. That's undeniable. Like they just all do it.
Yeah.
Cam and I do it through talking and speaking and doing this, but we don't do it like naturally as part of our process. But everyone around us does.
Yeah.
Like literally, there's no one we know that doesn't do it. So it
Yeah.
is so natural and so everyone is so inspired to be walking that walk now. And I mean, that's pretty fascinating. So if at the moment, I would say that like what would you say? Every single minute, thousands of these beings are being released around the world, hundreds of thousands are being released around the world. Like a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. Oh, it's huge. It's huge. So the ascendancy period from 2015 onwards just was like just astronomical. I've never seen anything like it.
And so as they release
Tendency,
it,
right.
as these are being released, then the charge of the invaders is decreasing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why we're seeing
Hmm.
so much chaos. I also believe that's why the chaos is occurring.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Well,
how
that's
many of these
fascinating.
creatures are you seeing dying at the moment? They're in, the L circles. All of these puppets that have been used for the whole lifetimes in the music industry and actors and actresses and, and the others, they're all just leaving.
They are, mate.
Mm.
Even Chuck Norris, man, I was so disappointed. He's passed, but then all these videos have come out of him saying how great Israel is and how they're the and I was just like,
And he
oh
was a
Wow.
no,
33
not
degree
even
mate,
Chuck. They
Freemason
got
mate.
Chuck. That was very disappointing.
Yeah, he was a Freemason, Campbell.
I know, right? But
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 yeah,
he was cool back in the 80s, man.
so even like, the celebrities have completely lost their charge.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
completely. The music stuff, they've got no charge left. None of them have any charge left. So, it's very, I mean, I'm fascinated by this conversation because normally we would look at this sort of concept of them um, propping themselves up with, the blood. Blood's a big factor. And from this perspective, it makes a lot of sense again. The blood of the living to charge the lack of blood of the dead, to
Yes.
put the living waters into
Yeah.
the dead, if you like. The ocean to me is part of that realm. The salt water is part of that realm. So, and we're part of the living water system.
Yeah.
Humans are part of the living water system. So our souls are charged by the living waters. So of course they have to use our blood. And it's undeniable that they are bloodthirsty, you know,
Oh,
obsessed with it in every
absolutely.
way.
Yeah. 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 I mean, all of their rituals involve blood of some sort,
Yeah.
bloodletting of some description. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
But
totally.
they've lost their charge, right? Even in spite of all that, they've still lost their charge. And within that, out their credibility, I mean, does anyone, I mean, my 14-year-old's obsessed with Taylor Swift, but that's the only one person I know in the whole realm that's still enamored by this sort of culture. And it won't last because, I've like, she's been living with me for too long now. It won't
Yeah.
last.
She actually submitted an article to the last
I love
newspaper all about Taylor Swift and how, but
She's
yes,
not a demon.
how she's not a demon.
We
But
could
that's
just
all
get
right. She'll
somebody else's
learn. She'll
perspective.
learn. She's still young.
She's still young. But, so yeah, so the celebrities, all the experts have lost their charge, all the politicians have lost their charge, all the leaders have lost their charge, all the nations have lost their charge. Like war has lost its charge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big one, right? War has
Mm.
a, who's patriotic to go to war these days? No one. There's no
No.
charge left there. Everyone's, even the people who are completely in opposite sides of how we think, there's no charge there, very little comparatively to the good old days of war,
Oh,
where it
yeah.
was like the
Yeah.
biggest, best thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Where everybody all came together to, all the women went out of their homes so they could go and create the munitions, and no
Yeah.
one's going to be doing that anymore.
Oh, can you
Yeah.
imagine?
Yeah. And they melted down all the
God.
bells to turn them into
Yeah.
weapons of
Oh,
war, of
just
course, invert
what
the
what a
charge.
spectacular inversion. I think I learnt
Oh,
that first from you guys. I was like, oh my God, seriously? This is crazy.
yeah,
How evil can you get?
I
yeah,
know. I know, right? This is what they are though. They get the best frequencies that are made for helping everyone and health and inspiration and turn it into a bullet so you can go and kill someone with it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
For a
Ridiculous.
false ideology that isn't even real,
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
Yeah,
lie.
And then we see these politicians, at Davos or whatever, and they're all friends. And it's like, hang on, didn't you guys just have a war against each other? Like, and
hmm
So it's just so obvious now. It's too hard to buy their story because there's so much information coming out, right?
Yeah.
Like,
The
we're just not
doctors,
buying it.
doctors have lost their charge. Medicine has
Doctors,
lost its
they've really
charge.
lost their
The
charge.
royals have lost their charge. I mean, it wasn't too long ago in my life when my family would listen to the Queen's speech at Christmas. Like that has completely lost its charge. You know, everything about their whole education has lost its charge.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
university is dead. University has completely lost its charge. You wouldn't even bother anymore going to university. Like literally everything around them has lost. They're like limp penises now. That's what it's like, isn't it? Whereas before, when we were kind of kids, it was like fully erect. Now it's just like this. You know,
Yeah.
everyone around the whole realm has lost their charge.
Eh,
And where would you see the charge increasing? It's in the spirit of these communities, right? In the homeschooling communities, the
Yeah.
communities in the land, the communities gathering, doing the, that's where the erection is, you know, right? They're in charge right now. They've got to, you know, but like I can't think of one institution or situation. TV has lost its charge. Who even
Yeah.
watches that anymore? The news, media, who even uses that anymore? Like newspapers, radio, there's no charge there.
Apart from our newspaper, which is awesome.
Oh,
Apart from the new highly charged newspaper,
highly.
this is new highly charged. It's so charged, it's erect, man. It's going off.
So,
The everything, I can't think of one aspect of my life as a child when I was young that still holds charge. The
Yeah, that's a
food,
good point.
supermarkets, no charge there.
Charge.
Yep. What's
Yeah.
left?
yeah,
Oh, the
Anything
monetary
with
system,
living.
which is collapsing, absolutely collapsing.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I mean, the only thing with charge now is full of living waters.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that
And
community and the community.
nature, gathering, conversations, all that stuff is where it is, right? It's and I mean the internet's eating itself too, right? It's literally becoming useless so quickly, especially with AI. You know,
Yeah.
with this war, there's so many videos out there of rockets and stuff, but they're all fake. They're
Yeah.
all like, so we don't know even what to
Yep.
trust anymore.
Space has lost its charge.
So it's like
NASA's lost
it's
its charge.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. I don't know. I had someone very close to me that's just so convinced that the moon landing happened, and it's
Yeah.
such an
oh
intelligent person. It's
well,
so hard to get through.
they're going back to the moon tomorrow, April
Tomorrow.
Fool's Day, don't you know?
Where are
Apparently
they
they're going
going in
back to
this
the
time?
moon.
And on the discussion of charge directions, what was the last vehicle they tried to break the stratosphere with?
Oh, the
Was
Tesla.
wasn't it shaped like a penis?
Oh, the rocket. Yeah, yeah, the penis rockets.
I mean, they literally have to
And
shape him like that
Metaphor.
now.
As
yeah,
you were saying before, Kel, was perfect metaphor because that's what they're ruled by: power,
Hmm. Hmm.
sexual power.
Hmm.
mm.
Only the lowest chakras, they're the
Hmm.
lowest, basest instincts.
And they
And a
lie
lot
and
of them,
deceive. Like
exactly,
the
they're running
one
on
thing that
autopilot.
we know about politicians and entertainment and TV, we know that they lie
Yeah.
and they deceive. Like that's the one thing we can prove 100%. So why anyone listens to anything that comes out of that, ilk of society, I have no idea because we just know they lie and deceive, right? And they are arrogant.
Well, I think it's finally getting to the point where it's flipped so much where we were the 10% who are awake, and I think now it's like 10% of people who are asleep. That's
Yes.
the people that I'm around anyway. I'm seeing that, it's a
Agreed.
reverberation. It's definitely the ripple effects having a major upgrade as well. So are you seeing that? I mean, I know we're surrounded by people, and Billy as well, surrounded by people who are, obviously awake.
Mm.
But that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a big shift.
It's definitely hard to know, but definitely just meeting random people, it's easier to talk about these types of topics. You can actually start bringing them up, and if you're sort of
Yeah.
brave enough to sort of put something in there, you'll most of the time you find that they're like, oh, okay, we can
Yeah, yeah,
talk. Yeah, it's like this code word, right? Can we talk
yeah.
about this? Are they an
Yeah.
NPC or are they going to know what I'm talking about? So, yeah, I've definitely seen that as well. Like just people that don't seem to be, conspiracy realists. That yeah, they are that they understand what's going on because it's affecting everyone's lives now, right? Once it starts affecting your kids' education and your job and your house and your standard of living and your food and your health, it's just that's the wake up call that people need, right?
Yeah, yeah. it's again working in the opposite direction of what they wanted, which is fantastic.
I know. I know.
Yep. Wool and hemp clothes, they have a charge.
Yes.
Yes.
Linen has a charge. Anything with
Yeah.
living waters in is now the one with charge. I mean, even old Trumpy Trump has lost his charge, and he was the savior of the goddamn universe a couple of years ago. You know what I mean? Like, he was like the truth community's lost its charge. Oh, controversial, Jonesy. But
Yeah.
it's true. The truth community's lost its charge because it's all online.
Mm,
Now, if you're getting all your information just from the internet, you are a limp, my friends. You have lost your charge, because the true knowledge, the true charge is, not there. It's not there. It's not there. And even all the big truthers, even the big famous truthers, they've all lost their charge. I mean, David Icke has lost his charge to me. I don't know about anyone else, but he's lost his charge. They've all lost their charge because
mm.
I've just dismissed the simulation theory. So anyone who talks about the simulation in space, they are chargeless to me. And since none of them want to talk about the ocean, they've all lost their charge to me. So, there's a very clear distinctive and it's a big bloody echo chamber in there. It's lost its charge. There's I can't think of one thing. Ice cream's lost its charge.
Yes.
Like all the sweet
Well, you
treats
know
we
what's in ice cream, don't you?
yeah, yes, I do.
Oh,
But
ice cream. Oh, no.
yeah.
Mr. Whippy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Whippy.
Yeah. Mr. Whippy. Mm-hmm.
okay.
Very disturbing.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I don't eat ice cream and I
No, I
shall
don't eat ice cream.
keep not eating ice cream.
I've never been a fan, but I used to love Tim Tams. You know what I mean? But they've lost their charge.
Oh, Tim
They've
Tams.
lost their charge.
All chocolate. That's not even chocolate
Yeah, or
anymore. Like
chocolate. There's
with
no
Easter,
chocolate in
right? There's all
chocolates.
this stuff everywhere
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's just all fake. It's got no cacao or cocoa or anything in it anymore. It's just all synthesized oils and
It's
sugar and
true. It's very bad. Well, on that topic, Cam, Christmas has lost its charge. Easter
Oh,
has lost its charge. Valentine's Day has lost its charge. All their fake events
all
have
that
lost their
fake
charge.
stuff. Yeah.
Time in the calendar has lost its charge.
The royal family have lost their charge.
Yeah,
I'm loving this
totally.
whole thing that's going on with the royal family because I've
Yeah,
always despised them. It's just, oh my gosh, wow, this is
yep,
really cool. This
yep.
is
I know,
happening
right?
right now, real time, and we're watching it being booed everywhere they go.
All right, about time. I know. I used to find it so weird. The Queen would go down the street in her gold-covered carriage, waving at everyone who was poor, whose money she
Oh,
was stealing while she lived in her massive mansion and let
And whose children
children
she
sleep
was
on the
eating.
street. And they're all like, "You're so wonderful." I never got that. It was
well,
crazy.
she supported her children having best friends with some of the
Yeah,
worst
yeah,
people in the
Jimmy.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not enough being talked about. There's plenty of with Andrew and Epstein. What about Jimmy?
yeah,
Yeah, yep.
Great. Is
Mm,
yeah.
that I
yeah.
don't think Charles is still alive personally. I don't believe
I
that
did
that's
hear
true.
that rumor. I
Yeah.
mean, and he was so proud, wasn't he, that Vlad the Impaler was his descendant? I mean,
Yeah,
but he
it's
was an organic farmer, don't you know? He had organic vegetable gardens, so he's great.
oh and a protector of animals while the Sons were off killing them
Hunting them. Yep.
safari,
Hmm. That's the whole origin of the worldwide animal. What is it? WWF.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
was
Yeah.
hunting, private hunting
yeah.
like parties.
Well, and now there's
Disgusting.
this whole story of what were they really hunting in these hunting
Mm, mm, mm.
parties?
Yeah. And there's proven human hunting parties in Adelaide. But that don't let that put you off coming
No,
to Adelaide.
right. We're coming. We just won't go out at
Just don't
night.
go to Beaumont. Don't go to Beaumont.
We're protected.
I mean,
And
the strongest thing within COVID that had a charge was the protest movement. They had a charge, man. Like all those people gathering in all the
yeah,
capital cities, they were charged. Capital cities have lost their charge, right? All the cities of Europe have lost their charge. All the immigrants have come in and broken the charge circle. All the violence is now in, and the rape. It's all so the glamour of moving to London or New York or wherever. That's all lost its charge.
Yeah,
Because the living waters, the living beings that we are, have to return to nature.
yeah,
Because we've got a new eon, a new age to welcome in. We have a new age to build. We have a new legacy, the new custodianship that we need to now recreate or create. And that has to be done outside of these structures that have bound us to the dead, literally. And so those cities, which used to be the sought after destinations of success in this realm, they have no more charge left. You would be
I
a
never understood
fool.
it. I never understood it. I had a friend back in early 2000s. He was desperate to go and live in New York, and I remember saying, "Oh, I couldn't imagine anything worse," and he was just gobsmacked.
Mm-hmm.
Great,
Yeah,
how
Mm-hmm.
revolting.
Mm-hmm.
especially
Guys, we
now.
should probably wrap up. I could do this for hours, but there are
Oh
things.
my
Yeah.
God. And we
So,
will on Sunday, on this
Yeah,
Sunday in
yeah.
Adelaide, we will go all fucking day. I'm sure of it because I'm obsessed.
Awesome.
mm,
I'm so looking forward to this. So come on, guys, come turn up. Come 2nd and 3rd of May, Adelaide. It's going to be incredible. Don't let my speech at the beginning of talking about Adelaide put you off. You have to come here to see the symbolism. To see the
Definitely.
churches, city of churches, also known as the murder capital of the world. Why? Why? Look at that juxtaposition.
Mm.
It's a fascinating place to check
oh,
out.
Well,
Go
churches
on
have
we
lost
are
their
my
charge.
excited. Can't
my
Mm.
my
wait to hear what you've
dig
got to
on the
say.
symbol dig on the symbolism of Adelaide. Watch that. It's the plug for me. On my Rumble and
Uh,
BitChute channels before you come, so that you can check out the symbolism because it is
Oh,
everywhere.
fuck
mm,
yeah. Maybe we'll put, should we put it on the end of this show, Rach? Let's
Oh,
do
that'd be
that.
awesome.
we
So,
can
Yeah.
maybe
all right,
attach it to
Cam,
the
can
end.
you
Yeah.
sort
So
that
hang
out?
around, guys. We're not finished
Yeah,
yet.
let's go into Rachel's actual deep dive into Adelaide.
All
Perfect,
right.
perfect.
And we'll
Okay,
leave the
good.
link.
Bonus beat. It's
Yeah.
the
And we'll
second
leave the
hour
link
of
to
the
your
show.
channel below. And if you want tickets, guys, tartariaaustralia.com.
Excellent.
Link
Excellent. All
below.
right.
Oh,
Cool.
that was, I have learned a lot from this conversation, Rach. See, already the live show has just changed. It's just evolved right there. Cam's like, no, Kelly, stop it. No, it's just
Stop it.
evolved.
Stop it.
I'm rewriting it.
Yes.
Fascinating, my
Uh,
All
friend.
right.
A
Well,
real
thank
pleasure.
you
A real
yes.
guys.
pleasure.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks,
It was
mate.
very good and
Awesome.
can't wait for Adelaide.
All right, 2nd of May, everyone. Okay, so stick around if you're watching this through Tartaria Australia because you're about to be introduced to Rachel's deep dive on Adelaide.
All right.
Woo!
All right. Thanks, Rach. Thanks, Billy.
Thank you.
All
Thanks,
Thank
right.
guys,
you.
you legends. We will see you soon.
Hello, my name is Rachel Vaughan. I wanted to share today the presentation that I will be giving on the 24th of May for the Adelaide event with Georgina Grace and Dale Holmes and Narita McInnes and beautiful Julia Starr. Obviously, I'll be sharing this after the event, but I wanted to set it up just to make sure that I had the presentation available to share if there's any sort of pushback from actually sharing this information. So forewarned is forearmed is pre-organised. So the topic of what I'll be sharing today is Adelaide's ley lines, and symbolism will be their downfall. And I have done some research into the Adelaide streetscape. I've done much research previously over quite a few years, but in order to get this presentation together, I just felt this impetus to have a really good look at what ley line alignments there might be in Adelaide. And as much as I am fascinated with ley lines, I don't have a lot of spare time to be doing this sort of research. Generally I work really hard, so I don't usually have time. But with an event like this coming up, I had to make time. And quite frankly, what I found, even for me, growing up the way that I did with MK Ultra and SRA, this has blown my mind. My father was a high-level Freemason. We come from a very high-level Freemason called Joseph Wright. He was the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge or Grand President of the Grand Lodge. So, they have a lot of this information, these people, but it's really obvious if you look for it. So I wasn't indoctrinated as far as I wasn't. There was some initiations done when I was very small, but I wasn't going to go along with them, so I didn't get much of it. So, but what I did get was my father's weird little things that he'd tell me. He used me like a confidant. So he would tell me things along the way, and I'll be sharing some of that in this presentation. So, what you're going to see today might be a little disarming, but I don't want anybody to be depressed by this. The reason I'm sharing this is knowledge is power. Once you know the way that they run things, the way that they co-opt and control these ley line alignments in straight lines, which are not natural. Ley lines are not straight naturally. They are created and forced into straight alignments through the placement of piezoelectric stone, usually in monuments and buildings, and I'll be sharing, the sorts of things that they use them for, to force those alignments into straight lines. Ley lines are naturally meandering, serpentine, as the grandfather of ley line knowledge, Alfred Watkins, describes. So I'm not trying to depress anybody with this. What I'm trying to do is show how it's done so that then we can go out, look for those really obvious places, and then we can go and do the healing work there. So again, I'm co-founder of a ley line movement called Lay Love Down. And the whole idea of that is to get an army of people to go out and do the energetic work. Don't have to fight with anybody. You just do the energetic work to undo the damage that these forcible straight alignments do to the ley lines. And we can shift so much through positive intent, through sound frequencies, using crystals, using all sorts of different tools. We can do this easily, peacefully, and we can win. Okay, so this is the ugly part of what's done to ley lines. What I'll be sharing, in future and doing a lot more of is walk and talks in the natural aspect of ley lines. And I'll be doing that and would have done that by the time I share this for the Adelaide event as well, because part of that was on the Sunday after the presentations on the Saturday was to go out into a natural place and show what ley lines are supposed to look like and how beautiful they are. And they meander, they don't go in straight lines. So due to time constraints, I've got to keep this to about an hour for the presentation for Saturday. So I'm going to try Saturday the 25th. I'm going to try really hard to keep this to about an hour. So there is so much in Adelaide streetscape that I just won't have time to present. What I'm hoping is that those who see this presentation will go out and do their own investigations and then share that so that everybody knows where all these, forced alignments are, where all of this symbolism is in the landscape and in the streetscape. And if they don't have the secrets, it's not a secret society anymore. They don't have any power. So again, symbolism will be their downfall. I truly believe that. And so that's what I'm trying to do today. The name Adelaide means noble or noble-natured. And noble means belonging by rank, title, or birth to the aristocracy. And there are so many references to the word king and Kingston in Adelaide. It is ridiculous, meaning overlord, pharaoh, owner, master, basically. The king word is everywhere. So first, I'm going to start sharing screen. The first tile that I'm sharing here today is the 6 alignments that I've found that are forcible straight alignments. The reason why I believe these are truly alignments are because of the incredible monoliths, monuments, churches that they've placed on these alignments, Masonic buildings, etc. And this is basically a how-to of how to find these urban ley lines. Often people will contact me and say, how do I find a ley line in an urban environment? First thing you go to is to a church or a Masonic hall. Use the tools that I've shared, for seeing them, seeing the leys. Get dowsing rods and use those. But if you really want to know, what ley lines are co-opted and controlled, you just use the streetscape. You use Google Maps or Google Earth or whatever tool you've got, and look at the way they've set the streets out and look at the significant buildings. It is really simple. So this is where I started off at St. Peter's Cathedral. There was a little bit of I wasn't quite sure if I should go for St. Peter's Cathedral or St. Xavier Francis Cathedral. They're the 2 biggest cathedrals in Adelaide. I went for St. Peter's because it made more sense and because I noticed that there is a monument out the front of St. Peter's, just opposite St. Peter's Cathedral, called the Ataturk Monument. That is literally the marking out of one of the ley lines on the ground. So you really can't, it's unmistakable. It lines up perfectly with the centre of St. Peter's Cathedral. So they've lined it out for us really neatly. And that's the type 5 alignment, the number 5 alignment. And that number 5 alignment goes straight through the Grand Masons Hall and eventually the Keystone Tower that they want to build. Okay, so again, use the tools available. These are the different places, the different factors that you want to look for in your ley line search in your local area or in the city that you live in, town that you live in, whatever. You look for the most important, most ornate, largest, oldest church, knowing that they are sited on a ley line. So Alfred Watkins again, considered the grandfather of ley line knowledge, even though ancient people knew this long before Western societies were even thought of. But he basically said that every single church in the UK is sited on a ley line. In fact, the Romans used to use their sacrificial stones in the crossing point of ley lines, significant ley lines. When the Catholic Church went into the UK, they actually used the Roman sacrificial stones as the cornerstones of the churches that they built on those ritual sites. So the Catholic Church knew the importance of the ley lines and the crossing points of the ley lines, because most really high church officials were also Freemasons, and that's a fact. It's something you can research. It's easily known. So this is the way that they do these things. It's called revelation of the method. They make it really obvious what they've done, the Freemasons. And by doing that and revealing their method, what they're saying is that we are too stupid to notice. In fact, because we're so stupid to notice, we are cattle. We're basically food, fodder. And I know that's a horrific thought. Unfortunately, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today, well, not a lot, but some, refers to the kings, the overlords, believing that they are the apex predators and that they can predate on us in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily just mean through cannibalism. It's through energy harvesting. It's through lording over us how much better and more important they think that they are. So they literally consider themselves kings. And a lot of these people, again, the name Adelaide means nobility, from a bloodline family, from aristocracy. So they named the place to point out how important they think they are in comparison to the rest of us. So I wanted to look at Colonel William Light. Now, this is an amazing revelation for me, just to realize what exactly this means. So Freemasons are obsessed with names. Colonel William Light, will light, willing the light, controlling light, or light bearer. Now, light bearer, Lucifer, the light bearer, this is basically Adelaide's dedicated to Lucifer. And I'll show you the proof of that. But to realise that Colonel William Light's name, and he is the Surveyor General of Adelaide, our first Surveyor General, and he set out Adelaide, like he planned all of this. So to know that he's also a Master Mason, the highest level of Freemasonry, and that his name literally means light bearer or light manipulator, is astonishing. And it made a lot of sense to me once I saw that name. Some of the symbolisms that you're going to be seeing is pretty astonishing. So it just blows my mind, basically. So again, the word Kingston is all over Adelaide. It means place of kings. Adelaide, noble birth. So these words are really important. Words and names are extremely important to Freemasons. There is eye symbolism everywhere in Adelaide. It's ridiculous. There are a lot of Illuminati triangles and pyramids with eye symbolism involved. There is the Chi Rho symbol as well, which is a very old symbol from 300 AD of the Christ on the cross, basically. There is Kabbalah symbols. There's the Rose Cross relating to Rosicrucianism. There is these arched windows, which is part of the Freemason building template. They put these particular arched windows everywhere. And these are some of the other really obvious Freemasonic symbols that you'll see, the black and white checkerboard in various places. What you can't see because of my thing here is the sigil of Satan, or Lucifer, which I'll be showing again in another spot. I also wanted to mention that the Satanic Temple has a fraternity in Australia, and specifically also in Adelaide. So they're quite obvious about it. I've made this very obvious, so they've taken it off the Satanic Temple website, but I got a screenshot quite a while ago. So they are in Adelaide. They just don't really like everybody knowing about it, so they've hidden it recently from the website. One thing I want to mention too, with the buildings that we're going to be looking at that are all over Adelaide, they are made of piezoelectric stone. So what that means is that piezoelectric stone is a stone that has an energetic frequency. So, and it can be controlling when you put it within a ley line. So it actually helps to route the ley line. It controls and directs the ley line. Now, masons are obviously very aware of these things. So most of the buildings that I'm going to be pointing out are made of these piezoelectric materials. Adelaide's Parliament House is built from West Island granite, sourced off Victor Harbour, as well as Kapunda marble. Both types of stone are considered to be high-grade piezoelectric materials. Granite is a coarse-grained igneous rock with clearly visible mineral crystals like quartz, feldspar, and mica, and marble is primarily composed of interlocking calcite crystals. Piezoelectric stones are sourced for these buildings as they have the ability to attract and control the Earth's ley lines in specific linear alignments. St Francis Xavier's Cathedral in Adelaide is constructed primarily with bluestone rubble, and in Australia that's either basalt or slate, and sandstone. So basalt, slate, and sandstone all have considerable piezoelectric qualities also. So the proof of this concept can be found in significant stone circles and monuments all over the world, which sourced piezoelectric stone, often from great distances for ceremonial purposes, and which are located on the crossing points of powerful ley lines. So an example being Stonehenge. The first iteration of Stonehenge was in 3000 BC, and the igneous bluestones for which used in the site were from the Preseli Hills in Pembrokeshire, over 200 kilometres to the west, which is pretty incredible. It's a long way to take those enormous stones. How did they do it back then? Talking, you know, not even horse and buggy back then, so God knows how they did it. The sandstone, that's part of Stonehenge, is made predominantly of quartz crystal silica and has been tracked to eastern Wales. And the origins of the sarsen stones still hasn't been found. They don't know where the sarsen stones came from for Stonehenge. Sarsen stones themselves are comprised of sand-sized quartz grains cemented tightly together by an interlocking mosaic of quartz crystals and are therefore piezoelectric. So by being able to discern the piezoelectric nature of these materials and the monuments that they place in these ley lines, you get a bit of an idea of the puzzle that it takes to put all of this together. So, Colonel William Light. Now, again, Surveyor General of Adelaide, Master Mason, planned out the Adelaide streetscape. This is Colonel Light Gardens. So immediately when you look at Colonel Light Gardens, you notice that there is this weird formation up here, which looks like one of these arched windows. In fact, it looks quite a bit like the rising sun version of these arched windows. Now, Colonel Light, William Light, Willing Light, controlling light, light bearer windows also control light and let light in. So very apt symbol for Colonel William Light, and just happens to be put into the streetscape of Colonel Light Gardens. This light name, this light bearer name, must have been absolutely a wet dream for the other Freemasons around him. They must have absolutely lauded this guy. So, you know, I know how important these names are to them. When I realised this guy's name, what it meant was just blew my mind. So they use a lot of wordplay, they use a lot of spell casting, and it underpins most of their beliefs. So here we have Light's vision on Montfiore Hill in North Adelaide. Now, you can see there's these striations in front of the monument. They don't go anywhere, so they're not paths as such, because there's a fence there. I believe they're marking out ley lines, and I'll show why in a moment. Over here, as part of this conglomeration, are some interesting sacred geometry symbols here. So we've got an octagon, a perfect square, a triangle, the triangle pointing to Light Place Reserve. So again, that might be considered a symbol of the eye at the top of the triangle. Just in case we didn't notice the other symbology, they put this in as well. Also, there's two names that need to be taken into consideration. Penong Avenue in William and Colonel Light Gardens, very similarly named to Penang Avenue in Colonel Light Gardens is very similarly named to Penong Avenue, Camden Park. I think there's an A or an E or something confused there. I've put it in the wrong spot, but they're very, very similarly named. So in Camden Park, but behind number 63 Penong Avenue is a huge tunnel. You could drive through it. So that's a skip. These are houses. These are cars. You can see that hole there, that tunnel. You could easily drive a car through it. So I'm considering that this Penong Avenue is a marker for the fact that Winston Avenue is known to have a 6-foot wide tunnel that's walkable all along. Okay, so this is a tunnel marker, the name Penong or Penang. So if that's found anywhere else, that could be a marker in other cities. It could be a marker in other, Freemasonic built cities, another marker in Adelaide. I haven't had time to look through for all the Penong or Penang avenues or streets in Adelaide yet. And just to rub it in, here we go. This is Play School. This is the arched window. And look, they've got a crown just above it. So the indoctrination of our children into this Freemasonic, blindsidedness, it starts very early. It starts in Play School. So this is, again, Light's vision. So this is the statue of Colonel William Light. These are the striations, I believe, are ley lines. You see these around monuments all around the world. In particular, the courtyard of the Vatican very, very clearly marks out the ley lines that create the enormous portal space that the courtyard, the circular courtyard, actually marks out. So from an aerial view, there's the monument, Light's vision, and these are the ley lines. Now, I have extrapolated this and put the other lines that I know are the 6 main alignments that lead from St. Peter's Cathedral. This is St. Peter's Cathedral. This is the Ataturk monument, and underneath the line is a straight line that comprises the actual monument. That is the indicator line of alignment 5 that reaches and goes through the Grand Lodge, the Masonic Grand Lodge at 254 North Terrace in Adelaide. So what's really interesting here, these ley lines and these ley lines crossing over create the sigil of Lucifer, at least the top half of the sigil of Lucifer. This is it. Light bearer, Lucifer, his ley lines, these alignments create this sigil, and it goes straight through Adelaide Oval. So again, these ovals are placed in really significant places to harness particular energy frequencies of lots and lots of people. Okay. So I believe that the fact that, I'll just go back, the fact that we've got this sigil here, we've got Colonel Light's vision, Light Bearer's vision. It's the sigil of Lucifer marked out here. I think this is too coincidental to not be planned. And again, you wouldn't notice these ley lines if I hadn't pointed them out. So there are so many correlations that I'll be showing today. It just blows your mind. And, anything that people pick up that they find, this also needs to be pointed out. Do these sorts of videos, share it. You don't necessarily have to put your face or your voice over it. You can do it in a way that you can, hide your face and change your voice through, some sort of software, but share it. Get this information out there so that they can't hide it anymore. Okay. Now, the actual streetscape of Adelaide is in the formation of a pyramid. So these are all arterial roads around Adelaide. This one isn't actually marked in, but it's implied. What it actually leads to is the Adelaide CBD being a perfect square, and I've marked it here. And this is the capstone. So Adelaide CBD is the capstone. So I've got this, one of the most famous and well-known images of the Illuminati. You've got your pyramid and you've got your capstone, and with the eye in the center. In the center of the capstone, being CBD, is Victoria Square, and it looks like an eye. And you just can't make this stuff up. It's ridiculous. So there's the eye, and, it looks reptilian because of the shape of the way that they've done this to put what I assume is the iris. I didn't make this. I'm just pointing it out. It sounds completely crazy. What's also down here are the 4 squares. Now, these 4 green squares are significant to Masons. There are 4 squares in Freemasonry that relate to particular qualities that I'll talk about in a moment. Take note of Kingston Park, and in Victoria Square, there's a statue to a gentleman called Kingston. But when I found this, it was like, oh my God, are you serious? Moving on. So again, Adelaide CBD, this is the capstone, Victoria Square as the eye in the capstone of the Illuminati pyramid, that is Adelaide. Here is Charles Cameron Kingston statue that is in the iris aspect of Victoria Square. In the corner of Victoria Square, I believe it's at this end, is the Three Rivers Fountain. Now, again, this is a bit of a stretch, but if you believe in the numbering and the obsession with numbers that Freemasons have, you've got 3 rivers, you've got a 6-sided hexagon. 6 threes are 18. My father told me that was the devil's number, but for others who believe it's 666, you've got your 3 times 6, you've got your 666. So you've got that also in the what looks like, you know, the tear duct of the eye of Victoria Square. They just happened to put the fountain there. Just behind that is Fool's Paradise. This is where the Fringe usually does their a particular aspect of what the Fringe does, and they called it Fool's Paradise. And I just thought that was so apt, because they think we're so stupid that we're not going to notice these things, that they'll put in something like Fool's Paradise just to point out that we haven't noticed what they're doing. That's my way of looking at it. Directly across from the Three Rivers Fountain is the District Court building, which on the top of which is a nod to Rosicrucian's Rosy Cross. So again, here we have the Adelaide CBD. Here are the 5 squares. None of it is square, by the way. There's nothing square about any of these. It's not about the squareness of it. It's about the way that they're described. And these are all replete with intense symbolism, and all named after high-level Masons. What are the chances? Okay, so light square, this is this one here. It took me a while to work out what this was, and I just happened to be watching a video and some symbolism popped up, and it was like, oh, there you go. Okay, so it's the Chi Rho symbol. So the Chi Rho symbol was first used by the Roman Emperor Constantine around 300 AD. What this actually, I believe, relates to is the 4 squares of Freemasonry, which are also known as the 4 cardinal virtues. So 4 squares of 4 cardinal virtues, which are temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. Now, I think with light square, I think it represents fortitude, because fortitude means courage in the face of pain and adversity. So for them, light square would be, you know, that aspect of the 4 squares of or cardinal virtues of Freemasonry, because no one suffers like Jesus Christ did on the cross. And I have to say, I have a real issue with the way that the Catholic Church represents Jesus Christ, you know, in his prone, suffering, you know, sacrificed state on the cross. I think that's horrific. I don't understand why anybody would want to have that hanging around their neck. I totally understand people wanting to have a symbol of Jesus, because Jesus is such a beautiful, beautiful example of humanity. But I do not understand why we would want to represent his sacrifice and his abuse. And the reason why I believe that symbol is so openly used is it's a warning to whistleblowers and those who fight the usurers. That's what will happen. That's what they want you to think. That's what will happen to you. So they put it everywhere. And it's really, when you think about it, it's pretty obscene. You get so used to it, you see it everywhere, and so you just think, oh, it's Jesus. But you know, Jesus wasn't always hung up on the cross. He spent quite a bit of his life not hung up on a cross, but that's the only thing that people relate to him visually, is this horrible representation. So again, you know, just amazing that they've got this particular symbol in that spot, and that it would relate to what they say, temperance, fortitude. Okay. Right, so the next square we're going to look at is Hindmarsh Square. So this one up the top here. Now, unmistakably, and I've inverted it here so you can see it more clearly, unmistakably and bizarrely in the park plan for Hindmarsh Square is this King K symbol. And again, can I move this? Yes, I can. And again, this King K is extremely symbolic to the Freemasons. My father was obsessed with the King K. He spent quite some time etching a King K into the backs of the hands of the neighborhood children and putting prion powder into the backs of the hands of the children from scrapey prions. And I just won't go into it, but it's all about cannibalism. And he would pick at the wounds and try and make them fester so it would create a scar with this King K on it. So the King K is a capital K that has these little striations, these little steps that come out from like this. Okay, so these little bits that come out. Right next to the King K in Hindmarsh Square is the street Hyde Street, hiding. So I think that this would relate to the prudence aspect or hidden aspect of the Freemason four qualities or four squares, because prudence is to be cautious and to be hidden, and hence Hyde Street. Now, as a child, I was taken into a local butcher that had the king name with a three-pointed crown. My father was at pains to point out to me that this was a symbol to let people know that that's where they could get their human meat. And I'm sorry to bring up cannibalism. I know it's horrific, but this is something that, I grew up with and I think is really important to share with people. I do not believe it's still being used for that, but unfortunately that symbol with the king name is still being used on that particular property. This is just an example of how obvious they'll make this. So Burger King has a ghost burger that they have a three-pointed crown showing above an Illuminati eye. Can it make it any more obvious? I don't think so. So ghost burger. So are these burgers haunted? Why would they be haunted? I'm just saying. And just in case you didn't notice or didn't pay attention to the fact that there's a King K describing the kings, the overlords cannibalizing the rest of us, there is Crown Plaza just above the King K in the actual streetscape. I'm not saying anything against Crown Plaza. I'm just saying, isn't that interesting that they would happen to have it there? So, they make it obvious so that so that they can point out to how stupid we are for not noticing. Revelation of the method. Okay, so Whitmore Square. So, Whitmore Square was named for British politician William Walrush Whitmore. Now, I should have mentioned too, Hindmarsh Square was named after Governor Hindmarsh, and of course, Light Square named after the light bearer, William Light. So Whitmore Square named after a high-level British politician, and it's long been designated a dry zone. So Whitmore Square, you cannot have alcohol, you cannot carry alcohol in Whitmore Square. And this would perfectly align with the prudence aspect of the four squares or virtues of Freemasonry. So far we've had temperance, and we've had, what was the other one? Cautiousness, fortitude. We've had fortitude and we've had temperance. This would relate to prudence. Prudence means to, how do they say it exactly? To be cautious, exactly. So to be cautious. No, hang on, that's not right. It's not. Whitmore Square, sorry. Where are we? Whitmore Square. So, sorry, we're on Whitmore. So, Hindmarsh Square related to prudence. Whitmore Square relates to temperance. Temperance meaning abstinence from alcohol, literally. This is the only square that I'm aware of in Adelaide that is a designated dry zone. So it perfectly relates to temperance, abstinence from alcohol. So the arched window shape of the square relates again to the Freemasonry arch. There is there has been a chessboard in the square. So just in case you didn't realise that it was named after a Freemason, they put the chessboard in there just to make sure that you do notice. And during World War II, there were air raid trenches built or dug in the square, so you could still have tunnels. Adelaide was undercut with tunnels after a 1938 mandate was put out to have tunnels, trenches, or bunkers behind every business place, every workplace, every meeting place, and every home in Adelaide, particularly along the South Road area. And I grew up along South Road. So, there's tunnels everywhere in Adelaide. It's not just folklore, it's fact. So when you think about how many tunnels there must have been after what I've just described with that mandate, pre-World War II mandate, it gives you a bit of an understanding of just how many tunnels there are. Next square. Right, last square is Hurtle Square. It's named for Master Mason Sir James Hurtle Fisher. So all these very powerful Freemasons have squares named after them. So it looks to me like a chalice and a Christian cross in the square. This is the only square that actually has a square in it. So I've marked that there. So you can actually, well, if I hadn't drawn over it, you'd be able to see the cross there. So it's this one here. So there is a cross there to mark that square, which is the only square in these squares. But it also looks very much like a chalice and a cross. And I've put this here as a part of the symbolism. And it's very interesting because the only reason why I noticed it was because the Astor Hotel has this symbol and you can't see it written underneath there, but has this symbol to indicate that that's somewhere where you can get a drink. And it's like, are you serious? Is this? That's just how it goes. Okay. So moving on. Now I didn't have a particular Freemason virtue or square for Hurtle Square, because the last one, the fourth one, Justice, I believe relates to Light Square, and I'll show why in a moment. This is just some of the eye symbolism in Adelaide. It's everywhere. It's just ridiculous. It is literally everywhere. So again, Victoria Square, massive eye at the top of the capstone. That's the CBD of Adelaide. That's the top of the pyramid that is Adelaide, mainly the main part of Adelaide. There is also the South Australian Athletics Stadium, just across from Kingston Park, has a massive eye. This is the Bicentennial Conservatory in the Botanic Gardens. And just in case you didn't notice that it was a massive eye shape, there's a semi-triangle in the gardens next to it, and an A. I still don't know what this symbol is about, but there's an A also in the gardens that I need to look up. And it's also like a very a strong version of A, like the King K. It's got all those little filigrees around it. So it's obviously means something, but I haven't quite worked it out yet. So a lot of the eye symbolism that you'll see in Adelaide, and I'll just move this in a moment for a moment, has these striations around it also. So this is a perfect example. This is Adelaide High School, and the buildings are in a rising sun motif, as in a striation around what is an eye shape. So they've got the eye shape there. So this is a nod to Horus, which I'll show in a moment. What is also significant, and I'll move this again, this is part of the Royal Adelaide Hospital grounds, and there is another eye-shaped building. This is a very weird shape to put a building in. Why? So I'll show you why in a moment. You'll often see also the compass and square. So with an eye in the center, that symbolism is everywhere. And when I actually Googled all of the different stadiums and arenas in Adelaide and lined them up, it comes up to like a square and compass type formation, which I thought was interesting, given most of these arenas and stadiums are all oval shaped or eye shaped. So that's not by mistake. They do that on purpose. So, and this is the CBD of Adelaide in here. And again, at the centre of the CBD of Adelaide is Victoria Square. So that provides the eye shape at the centre of the arenas, creating the square and compass, which is the Freemasonic symbol here. Okay. All right. So we have all of these alignments, and they're pretty amazing. So we've looked at the symbolism. Now we're going to look at the 6 main alignments. So alignment 1, which is this one. Now all of these alignments run from St. Peter's Cathedral in North Adelaide, which is just up here beyond, just at the top here. So this is the pivot point of all 6 alignments and the beginning point. So St. Peter's on the first alignment goes through Kingston Park, the SA Athletics Stadium, through Adelaide Oval, which is up here as well, another eye-shaped icon, through the Royal Adelaide Hospital, which is here, and there's another eye-shaped icon there, through Karen Rolton Oval, which is down here. Oh no, that's Karen Rolton Oval, and a little bit further down here is Richmond Oval. So these are 5 large eye symbols along this one alignment in a distance of approximately 4 kilometres. So that's really significant to them. So that's one alignment that I would really, if you're a researcher, really go into it. And these alignments go for a long distances, like they all the way to the sea. So you can follow them for a long way and get a lot of information. Like I said, I've only got an hour today, so I've got to keep this reasonably short. The second alignment goes to St. Patrick's Church. You can't see the saint, I've covered it up by accident. So it's St. Peter's Cathedral straight through to St. Patrick's. This is St. Patrick's Church. It's nothing to be, it's not small. It's obviously quite significant. Alignment 3 goes from, again, St. Peter's Cathedral, past Victoria Square I formation, and the district court that has the Rosy Cross above it, and continues on. So this is line 3. Yep. So line 4 goes from, again, St. Peter's Cathedral, all the way through the Adelaide Club, which is very significant, and I'll be talking more about the Adelaide Club in a moment. So, you know, these are the really important buildings. There are many, many, many more buildings, churches, symbols, but again, time-wise, I can only go for the most important today. And the Adelaide Club is extremely significant. This 4th alignment also goes through St. Francis Xavier Church, that I mentioned before, which is down here, and continues on. Alignment 5 goes from, again, St. Peter's Cathedral through the Masonic Grand Hall on North Terrace, which is very, very significant. I mean, you know, that's their most important building for the Masons, is their Grand Hall. And continues on to St. John's Church. So again, you know, when you want to find these alignments, you find the most important church or cathedral, which is St. Peter's, and then you line it up with the other churches. Now, what's amazing is, as you can see, these are reasonably equally distanced from one another. So, and there's a reason for that. You know, they try to keep things controlled, and they try to have a pattern to these things because it's obvious to them. But to us, the idiot plebs that don't know, we can't see what's right in front of our faces. And like I said, I didn't know until I looked into it exactly how, you know, obvious this all is. So the 6th alignment runs from St. Peter's Cathedral again, through the Botanic Gardens, through King Rodnick Park. So again, there's that King name again. Through to a curious pyramid formation in Toorak Gardens, which I'll be looking at a little bit more closely, all the way to the suburb of Beaumont and the Mount Osmond Lookout. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is this alignment here also goes through Parliament House, alignment 3, Parliament House, yeah. So it goes through St. Peter's Cathedral, Parliament House, then past the District Court building and on. Okay, Parliament House being very significant, obviously, and I mentioned the PCO electric qualities of Parliament House earlier. Okay, so these are only the 6 main ones that I've found so far. If I've got time in future, I'll go more into it and look into it a little bit more deeply. So I'm going to look into each of these alignments individually in a moment, but this is just to show them, you know, in a little bit more clarity. So this alignment again goes through all these eye shapes. It's alignment 1. Alignment 2 goes through St. Patrick's Church and continues on. Alignment 3, Parliament House, goes past Victoria Square Eye. Alignment 4, so if I move this out of the way, goes through the Adelaide Club and continues on to St. Xavier's Church, St. Francis Xavier's Church. Alignment 5 goes through to the, you know, past, goes through the Masonic Grand Hall to another significant church. Where are we? Alignment 5, St. John's Church. And I believe that's, no, and then the next one, alignment 6, this is really interesting, goes through St. Peter's Cathedral, through the Botanic Gardens where the other eye-shaped monument is, through Rose Park, which is also significant. Rose, Rosicrucian, rose means a lot, to this really interesting formation down here, which is another pyramid. So I'll show that again in, and that's in Toorak Gardens, and I'll show that a little bit closer again in a moment. So again, when you look at the way that these things are formed, you know, it's always like the rays of the sun, the way that they striate out. Okay, so alignment 1 in close up. Here we have the Royal Adelaide Hospital. Here we have this weird eye-shaped building. This is again shaped like the sigil of Lucifer. This is the sigil of Lucifer. We saw this just opposite Light's statue on Montfeuille Hill. Here it is again, just in case you didn't notice it, they've put the eye-shaped building in, so you do. So you'll often see the Lucifer sigil with the eye above within a pyramid. This is a piece of jewelry you can buy on the internet. Not that I suggest you buy anything that revolting. This building is the South Australian Health Medical Research Institute. At the bottom here is the South Australian Genomics Centre, which is very interesting. And here is the Royal Adelaide Hospital playground. Now, again, we've got an eye-shaped building. We've got what looks like maybe tears creating a pool and ripples. I don't know, that's just the symbology that I can see there. What's really interesting is they've got this symbol, which looks like the radioactive symbol, as the center point of the playground. So why? Again, more aspects in alignment 1 that need to be focused upon. Again, there's this Karen Rolston Park, I believe it is, but just over here is what I was showing before, Adelaide High School, with the Burke Oval, I believe it is, above. Now, yeah, Burke Oval. So this symbolism could be seen, I've got it here, as a symbol of Horus. So the eye of Horus, the sun above in Burke Oval, and these striations also relating to sun worship, or the sun ray, the rising sun symbol, which you see everywhere, which again, you know, this is another form of that. So this is really interesting, and I extrapolated that to the next formation that I'm going to show, because even though I used to believe that this was actually the formation of a condor in the Adelaide streetscape, I now believe it's a nod to Horus. So again, from the last tile, we've got the Adelaide High, we've got Burke Oval, we've got this symbology of Horus, the eye of Horus with the circle above being the sun. There's other, you know, very obvious eye symbolism all along this line. They're everywhere along this line. Now, the eye of Horus being, you know, the most important symbol of Horus, it's all within the wing of this bird shape that's in Adelaide streetscape. I've known about this one for a long time and I've shared it before. What I did notice this time around also was the 4 squares are also represented in the wing of this Horus image. This is the head in the streetscape with John Mitchell Reserve as the eye. Now, this is a really weird way to shape, you know, a streetscape. If you didn't want it to look like a bird's head, the chances of this just being coincidental is not possible in my mind. We have another oval above here that could again represent the sun, you know, the circle above. So, I mean, all you're going to do is Google John Mitchell Reserve Adelaide, and you'll see this formation. And because I've drawn over it, you can't see it specifically, but it's exactly that shape. So, you know, that's the proof. I didn't have enough space to keep, you know, representing things over and over and over again. But from a distance, this is what it looks like. And this is Adelaide Airport. So you've got, you know, these bird-like, you know, machines that fly in and out of the Adelaide Airport, and you have the symbology of Horus in the streetscape. Again, you know, the wingtips reach into the Adelaide CBD. So these are the wingtips of Horus. In the corner here of Adelaide Airport is another symbol of the Illuminati triangle with the eye. And in the very corner, and this is a highlight of it, is this rising sun symbol again, with this really weird meandering path. It's a weird sort of shape, which is similar to the snake on the Tutankhamun sarcophagus. So again, it's a nod to Egypt. It's a nod to their kingship. Now, again, I kept saying king is really, really significant to Masons. They've got king written into the streetscape everywhere, particularly on those 6 alignments. You will find the word king everywhere all along those alignments, or Kingston. Horus in Egyptian mythology is primarily the god of the sky, sun, and kingship. So he's associated with protection, healing, and war. He's often associated with the sun and the left eye with the moon. Sorry, Horus's right eye is also often associated with the sun, and which reinforces his connection to light and the celestial sphere. So again, there's this light connection, this connection between the symbology, the light bearer, Colonel William Light, the eyes everywhere, eyes letting light in. So they, again, that the eye is very important to them. So alignment 2. Again, running from St. Peter's Cathedral to St. Patrick's Church, 2 significant churches in Adelaide. I was quite astonished when I kept directing out this, or following this ley line all the way through from this alignment, and it actually crosses exactly, goes all through to the Apostolic Church. So again, as you look at these alignments, look for all the churches that crosses through. And I found that my home, my childhood home in Edwardstown, where I was brought up, where I was trafficked through tunnels, where I was ritually abused, where I saw children murdered, it's on this alignment 2. I was not expecting this. This has coloured this presentation for me because it's made me feel quite sick, but I still think it's important that it needs to be presented. I would say that this might be, every day that I live, there's a little bit piece of the puzzle that comes together of what my life has been and why it's been the way it has. I am obsessed with ley lines. I've co-founded a movement around saving ley lines. It is not lost on me that I live on one of these ley projections. So my father would have known this. There is a telecommunications bunker, a hidden one, underneath the childhood home that I lived at 8 Mackland Street, Edwardstown. So I would now add telecommunications bunkers as part of the system that they place these ley line alignments along. I would keep them or put them in the list of significant buildings and significant locations that you would find along these alignments. Oh, life is weird. Okay, so alignment 3, again, from St. Peter's Cathedral through Parliament House, by Light Square, Victoria Square, past the District Court building with the Rosy Cross on the roof, and further through, and just happens to border Colonel Light Gardens. So Colonel William Light Gardens, which I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So again, this is not an accident, it's not a mistake, it's not a coincidence. This has been organised into the streetscape on purpose. Alignment 4, again, cannot emphasise enough how important the Adelaide Club is. It is a significant building, extremely significant. This is where they all meet and make their plans. It lines up perfectly with St. Francis Xavier's Church or Cathedral. So, these are really significant buildings, as is St. Peter's Cathedral. This alignment is no mistake. It's no accident. It's no coincidence. It's there to channel that particular energy. So alignment 5, we have St. Peter's Cathedral again through the Masonic Grand Hall. Very important for them. This is the Masonic Grand Hall here. And St. John's Church, which is down here. So this is a picture of St. John's Church. Again, you can't make this up. They put these buildings in these specific alignments for a reason. And finally, alignment 6 from St. Peter's Cathedral. Oh, where am I? Go back. So we're almost at the end of the presentation. So from St. Peter's Cathedral through to this weird marker here. There's many, many important things, markers along here, but this weird marker in Toorak Gardens. Now it's a pyramid shape, so I've marked it here. Again, you've got the pyramid in these 4 streets, then you've got the capstone, Now there's something in the center, Ferguson Square. I haven't had a really good look because I just haven't had time. But again, they make it so obvious. And this lines up perfectly, absolutely perfectly. It goes exactly through that little alignment there. They're pointing it out, just so you notice. Where it actually goes through here, it's really interesting. So where you've got this weird square, which is the one here that I pointed out, and here, where you've got this weird square, on the opposite side is this weird marking streetscape here that's like an arrow. And I'm thinking, well, that's very interesting. So if I was to take these two lines and see where they meet, where might they meet? Oh, they meet exactly at the Mount Osmond lookout. Now, if you take that line and you have a look at what's in between here at 357 Green Hill Road, Toorak Gardens, it's the former office of our ex-Attorney General, Vicky Chapman, and the current Attorney General of Kian Maha. Just happens to be right in between. Isn't that interesting? Fascinating. And as this line keeps going further up again, it goes through the bicentennial conservatory with the massive eye and the, quite obvious triangle in the base. And again, actually, I should have really highlighted that because that's much more obvious there, isn't it? Damn. And this A, I'm not sure what the A is all about. So, welcome to Adelaide. So here we go. Now you might think, okay, all right, fair enough. Colonel William Light, their light bearer, all these Masons, they've created Adelaide in this shape. It's all been done in the past. Yeah, it's ugly, it's scary. They've co-opted those alignments, but is it really relevant today? Well, yes, it is, because they are just about to build the absolute piece de resistance of their entire system, the Keystone Tower, just behind 254 North Terrace, which is their Masonic headquarters, the Grand Lodge. And it just happens to be right near Synagogue Place and Tavistock Lane. And for those who don't know what Tavistock means, Tavistock is a version of MK Ultra mind control. So again, they make it really obvious. Hilariously, is also Vaughan Place, just in that location. I think that's funny because my surname obviously is Vaughan. It's my married name. I wasn't born with this name. Someone put that name in there at some point. I find that funny. That to me is like the old adage, it is written. I believe that part of my purpose here in this lifetime is to expose these things. The fact that Vaughan Place is there is just food for thought, I suppose. So looking up this Keystone Tower, and by the way, Keystone means it's the final piece of the puzzle. This is their final piece of the puzzle. It's the most important and remarkable feature in Masonry, and it's the final key that holds their entire structure in place, which is why this is still relevant. What I've shown today is still relevant because they're still doing it. And this is their like their big marker, and this is going to be the largest skyscraper in Adelaide. It's slated to be building 37 stories, supposed to finish building in 2007. It's going to be an absolute eyesore. It sounds utterly disgusting. 38 stories wide, tall, 160 meters high. And it's interesting how it's described as iconic and eye-catching. I just had to put that in there because of all the eye symbolism. So there you go. You've got your Keystone Tower. They're doing that now. So that's their way of saying everything's in place now. We put this last keystone in place and we can lord it over you even more. And that's why I've shared this today. I want to expose this so they can't lord it over us anymore, because I want this to be shared far and wide and people can see what they've been doing and the way that they've co-opted these ley lines. One thing that people don't understand, ley lines are energetic channels. They are the Earth's meridians. They're part of her energy system. If you went off and had some acupuncture done, the acupuncturist would find the meridians on your body that are blocked, and they would use the acupuncture to unblock those meridians, because if your meridians are blocked, you will get sick. This is what they're trying to do to the land. They're trying to make it sick. They're trying to control us. They're trying to lord it over us. They're trying to point out to each other how stupid we are for not noticing all of the symbolism and everything that they've pointed out. So this is why I'm sharing this today. I want to put this out after the presentations given on Saturday, the 24th of May. get it out to as many people as possible if you can. This is their undoing. Symbolism will literally be their downfall. And this is why I keep sharing this. So in conclusion, I just want to reiterate that this knowledge hasn't been shared to disarm or distress anybody. Knowledge is power. To be forearmed is to be forewarned. So if you know this is going on, you can keep an eye out for it. If they've got some new planning development they want to do, you can go in and have a look at the plans and see what sort of symbolism are they putting in there? What sort of names are they putting in there? Who is organising it? Are they a Mason? Are they a really high level Mason? Who do they know? You know, are they part of the aristocracy or a bloodline family? Through my work with Lay Love Down, during a recent earth healing course that I did with a beautiful woman called Hayley Wallace, I've learned that we can heal anything with intent, with our voices, and using some simple, inexpensive tools like crystals. So if you see this and you feel, you know, motivated to go out and do something about it, take some crystals. It doesn't even have to be a big, expensive crystal. As Hayley pointed out, the tiniest crystals, the tiniest chips, have the same frequency as the larger body of crystal. So you can take tiny chips of crystal and put them in the grounds in various places with the intent that you are going to change, balance out the frequency of what they're doing, restore the ley lines back to where they originally would have been and where their energy allows them to travel. We are so incredibly powerful. Our greatest tool is our intent. By placing the crystal, what you're doing is you're activating it and telling it to do that work. Also, when you place a crystal in the ground and you've touched that crystal, it has your frequency on it, it has your DNA on it, and you can remotely connect with it and, again, reactivate it. Every time you think of that crystal, reactivating that crystal, you're creating balance in that ley lines with the right intent. It's not complicated. So they have done it in a very complicated way with massive buildings and huge amounts of stone. We can do it in a much less complicated way because there are many, many, many more of us. There's approximately 45,000 Masons in Australia, and there's what, 27, 28 million of us. So, you know, they make a very small number. The first thing we need to do to heal these spaces is knowledge, and you have that knowledge now. So go out to the places where the symbolism is the most obvious. Go out to these squares. You know, go with the right energetic protection. You can find protocols for energetic protection on the Lay Love Down website under tools. So go and have a look for that. So with this knowledge and with the desire to change what's been done to this land, you can set out into those parts of Adelaide with the intent to heal those areas which are under the darkest control. You can go armed with crystals, with sound instruments, tuning forks, or with your own God-given voice, and make a difference. I am not religious, but I've been told that there is a passage in the Bible which states that the last fight will be over the ley lines, and I believe that that time is now. Knowledge is power. Freemasons, Luciferians, and Satanists assume we're all too stupid to see what they've done and continue to do. We are all proof that they are wrong. Use your power, change the world for the better, help take back the ley lines for good. That's what we're doing. We're taking back the ley lines. The last fight is over these lines. We are in that time. This is where we do this. This is where we make the change. And it's all just about letting people know how and going out and doing it in your own way. If you don't want to go out onto the land yourself, you can do it through guided meditations. There are so many different ways. All we need is the numbers. And I estimate maybe about 10,000. We need about 10,000 people to be doing this on a regular basis to make the difference. It's not a lot of people. All right. Thanks so much for listening to my presentation today. Share as much as you can. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking putting out this stuff, but it's very, very important. So, you know, I'm at the point now where I don't care who thinks I'm crazy. All the evidence is there. I mean, it's so friggin' obvious. So go for it. Share away. All right. Thanks, guys.